Naruto knew that attack. The wooden spears were already falling when the battlefield appeared around him. 1 second, he had been standing beneath the lights of Konoha. He was wearing the Hokage cloak he complained about whenever Shikamaru was close enough to hear him. The next second, the air tasted of ash, blood, and the chakra of the 10 tails. He saw Hinata. He saw his younger self on his knees. He saw Neji step in front of them. His body moved before he understood why he was there. He had watched Neji die once. He would not watch it happen again. Naruto crossed the distance in a yellow blur. The first spear shattered against his forearm. The second was caught by a chakra arm that burst from his shoulder in a sheet of golden light. 3 more changed direction in midair as another set of chakra arms struck them from the side. The last 2 spears were already too close to Neji for any careful solution. Naruto drove 1 foot into the broken ground, wrapped the 3 young shinobi in a dense cloak of Kurama's chakra, and let the impact hit him instead. The earth behind him cracked in a long trench. For half a second, the battlefield went strangely quiet. Neji had been braced for death. His long dark hair had been thrown across his face by the blast. His pale eyes widened when he realized that there was no hole through his chest. Hinata was still frozen, with one hand stretched toward Naruto's younger self. The younger Naruto stared at the broad back in front of him and at the white cloak snapping in the hot wind. Red flames ran along the cloak's lower edge. Black characters marked the back. 7th Hokage. The younger Naruto's blue eyes climbed from the cloak to the man's short spiky blonde hair, then to the familiar whisker marks on his cheeks. His mouth opened. Adult Naruto had seen that expression in mirrors when he was 12. Somehow, it was worse from the outside. The 10 tails roared before anyone could speak. Its sound rolled over the battlefield and shook loose stones from the shattered ridges. The allied shinobi forces were spread across a wasteland that barely resembled Earth anymore. Craters overlapped like wounds. Broken weapons lay among strips of torn cloth and splintered trees. Medics dragged injured shinobi toward what little cover remained. The sky had turned the dirty red-brown of a storm filled with dust. Adult Naruto looked toward the monster and felt the old pressure settle over his shoulders. He knew this battlefield. He knew who had already died. Shikaku, Inoichi, the headquarters. Men and women whose names he had learned only afterward, because there had been too many bodies during the war to remember them all. A voice rumbled inside him. Kurama had noticed the same thing. The fox's chakra surged in anger so sharp that Naruto's hands tightened. This was not an illusion. The scent of the 10 tails was real. The chakra signatures were real. Even the younger half of Kurama, inside the boy behind him, was real. That last detail nearly made the adult fox choke on his own fury. Across the field, the 10 tails lifted another limb. Naruto stopped thinking about time travel. He turned and raised both hands. Golden chakra burst outward from him in hundreds of thin streams. They struck the ground, wrapped around wounded shinobi, and hardened into protective mantles a moment before the 10 tails swept its arm across the allied lines. The impact rolled over them like a mountain falling sideways. Hundreds of shinobi were thrown from their feet. Rock exploded. Sand and broken armor filled the air. Naruto slid several meters, sandals cutting grooves through the dirt. His cloak cracked like a flag in a hurricane, but the golden mantles held. Not all of them. 3 on the far left flickered under the pressure. Naruto made a hand sign. 4 shadow clones appeared beside him. They split in different directions at once. One caught a wounded stone shinobi before he hit a broken ridge. Another drove a chakra arm beneath a collapsing slab of earth. The third pulled 2 medics out of the path of a falling boulder. The fourth landed beside an exhausted sealing squad and reinforced their barrier with raw chakra long enough for them to repair it. The younger Naruto watched all of it with his jaw hanging open. Then he looked down at his own hands. He could do all of those techniques. He could not do them like that. Neji recovered first. He activated the Byakugan. Veins rose around his pale eyes as he studied the stranger from head to foot. He found a normal chakra network. An absurd chakra network, but a human one. Inside it sat a mass of red gold chakra so vast that Neji's expression tightened. Hinata activated her own Byakugan a heartbeat later. The 2 Hyuga exchanged a quick look. There was no transformation technique, no visible foreign control, no puppet threads, no obvious genjutsu. The younger Naruto finally managed to speak. He asked the question with all the tact adult Naruto remembered having at 16. Was this some kind of old guy version of his shadow clone? Adult Naruto looked at him. Then, at the orange and black jacket. Then at the hair that seemed to have lost a fight with 6 different combs. Then, at the face that was somehow both painfully familiar and deeply annoying. For one terrible second, he understood why Sakura had hit him so often. A fresh explosion saved him from answering. Obito stood atop a rise near the Ten Tails, his scarred face half lit by the monster's chakra. Madara stood farther back, long black hair moving in the blast wind, red armor almost clean despite the battlefield around him. Neither man looked confused for long. Madara's attention fixed on the white cloak, then on the chakra around adult Naruto. His smile changed. Naruto remembered that smile. It meant Madara had found something interesting enough to make everyone else's day worse. Obito stared at the younger Naruto, then at the adult one. The expression on his scarred face hardened. Adult Naruto knew what both men were thinking. A second Nine-Tails Jinchuriki had appeared from nowhere. A second Naruto possessed more chakra, more control, and apparently knew exactly what was supposed to happen on this battlefield. That knowledge became dangerous the moment they understood it. Naruto stepped back toward the others. He told Neji to stay close to Hinata and keep the Byakugan moving. He told the younger Naruto not to rush Obito alone. Then he stopped, because the boy was staring at him with growing suspicion. The younger Naruto wanted to know why a stranger knew Neji and Hinata by name. Adult Naruto rubbed a hand over his face. He had handled peace negotiations between nations. He had argued with feudal lords. He had managed village budgets, border disputes, and one memorable emergency involving Chocho, a damaged restaurant, and a very angry owner. None of that prepared him to explain his existence to himself. He settled for the shortest truth. He said he was Naruto Uzumaki. The younger Naruto immediately said that was stupid because he was Naruto Uzumaki. Adult Naruto agreed that this was exactly the kind of argument he had expected from Naruto Uzumaki. Hinata made a small sound that might have been a laugh. She tried to hide it behind one hand and failed. The younger Naruto turned toward her as if betrayed. Neji, who had narrowly avoided dying less than a minute earlier, looked between the two blonde men. He decided that surviving might have placed him in a different kind of danger. Kurama's voice rolled through adult Naruto's mind again. The fox said that the boy was even louder than he remembered. Adult Naruto answered silently that Kurama had once been much worse. The fox refused to discuss that. A pulse of chakra cut through the field. Adult Naruto's humor vanished. Obito had raised one hand. The 10 tails began gathering energy in its mouth. A dark sphere swelled between its jaws. Adult Naruto remembered this kind of attack. He also remembered how many people died whenever the allied forces failed to redirect one in time. He turned toward the younger Naruto. The boy had already seen it too. For the first time since adult Naruto arrived, the two of them moved without arguing. The younger Naruto formed shadow clones and began gathering chakra. Adult Naruto did not copy him. He sent 2 of his own clones toward the ceiling squads, and another toward the sensory division. Then, jumped high enough to see the battlefield. He needed the entire army to move. He did not have command authority here. He had no time to ask for it either. Ino's chakra suddenly brushed his mind. The blonde kunoichi stood farther back, with blood running from one temple. Her eyes were wide, but her technique held. She had seen enough to understand that the stranger was trying to coordinate something. Naruto gave her a simple message. Left wing back 120 meters. Earth users raise angled walls, not flat walls. Water users cool the front surfaces. Lightning users wait. Ceiling teams prepare anchor tags behind the second ridge. Everyone else, get low. Ino hesitated only long enough to ask who was giving the order. Adult Naruto looked at the incoming tailed beast bomb. He said that if the plan failed, she could blame the Hokage. The message went across thousands of minds at once. Confusion spread with it. Naruto heard at least one distant shinobi shout that Tsunade was nowhere near the battlefield. Another voice shouted back that apparently they had an extra Hokage now. The army moved anyway. Young Naruto and the adult met the first surge of the projectile with layered chakra arms. They were not trying to stop it completely, only forcing it to lose speed for the few seconds the formation needed. Earth walls erupted from the ground in staggered rows. Water swept over them, turning dirt to heavy mud. A flat wall would take the blast directly. Sloped barriers would redirect part of the pressure upward. The tailed beast bomb fired. Adult Naruto dropped from the air and slammed both hands together. A huge golden chakra arm struck the projectile from below. The younger Naruto's chakra arms hit from the side. For a moment, the sphere refused to move. The muscles in adult Naruto's shoulders tightened. His feet sank into broken stone. He felt the younger version of Kurama pushing from the other side, raw and fierce, while his own Kurama added weight and control. The sphere shifted 1 degree. Then 2. It was enough. The projectile struck the first angled earth wall, tore through it, skimmed the second, and changed course toward the sky. Adult Naruto shouted for lightning. Hundreds of lightning release techniques hit the wet ground beneath the Ten-Tails at once. The purpose was not damage. The shock made the beast's nearest limb jerk, breaking its balance just as the redirected bomb exploded above its head. The sky became white. The blast pushed the Ten-Tails sideways. A column of fire and dust climbed into the clouds. The allied forces remained standing. Adult Naruto exhaled through his teeth. The plan had worked, but the golden cloak around him had dimmed slightly. Kurama noticed it too. The fox warned him not to protect an entire army. Fight Madara, fight Obito, and solve the history of the world using the same pool of chakra. Naruto knew. That was the first important difference between memory and reality. When he had been 16, he had fought like chakra was an ocean with no shore. As Hokage, he had learned that even vast reserves became finite when thousands of lives depended on them at the same time. The younger Naruto landed beside him. His eyes were shining. He asked how the older version had known the bomb could be redirected that way. Adult Naruto answered that he had spent years fixing problems caused by people who believed hitting harder was always the first solution. The boy frowned and said hitting harder was usually a very good solution. Adult Naruto pointed at him. That, he said, was exactly the problem. From a distant ridge, Kakashi heard enough of the exchange to narrow his visible eye. The silver-haired Jonin had been watching the stranger since his arrival. The techniques were Naruto's. The chakra felt like Naruto's. The way he argued with himself was unfortunately also Naruto's. But Kakashi had lived through a war built on deception. He was not ready to trust a white cloak and familiar face. He appeared beside them in a flicker of movement. His left Sharingan was exposed. His mask covered the lower half of his face, but his body was tense. Adult Naruto looked at him and felt something twist in his chest. Kakashi looked younger than Naruto remembered. More tired, too. The old scar ran through his Sharingan exactly as it had when Naruto was a child. Naruto almost called him sixth. He stopped himself just in time. Almost. Kakashi's eye sharpened. He had heard the first syllable. Adult Naruto cleared his throat and said, "Kakashi-sensei," instead. The younger Naruto looked from one to the other. Kakashi asked for proof. Adult Naruto understood immediately. He did not argue. He listed 3 things in a low voice. The training post, where Kakashi had tied Naruto during Team 7's first bell test. The exact title of the orange book Kakashi had pretended not to read during training. The fact that Kakashi had once told Naruto that people who abandon their comrades are worse than trash. Kakashi's posture changed on the third detail. Adult Naruto added one more thing that no enemy on the battlefield should have known. He told Kakashi that Obito's Kamui and Kakashi's Sharingan were connected to the same dimension. Attacks could pass through Obito because he shifted the affected parts of his body there. Kakashi went still. Across the field, Obito's head turned sharply. Adult Naruto saw it. Too late. He had just announced one of Obito's most important secrets, within range of men who could read lips and chakra movement. Madara smiled wider. The future had already begun to change. Kakashi understood the problem at the same moment. Information was a weapon. On a normal battlefield, giving the right information to the right ally could end a fight. On this battlefield, every revelation also told Madara and Obito what the stranger knew. Adult Naruto lowered his voice. He asked Ino to connect only a small group this time. Kakashi, Shikamaru, Sakura, Hinata, Neji, the younger Naruto, Ino herself. The mental link formed in uneven pulses. Ino was exhausted, and the destruction of headquarters still showed in the tightness around her eyes. She did not complain. She simply established the network and warned them that she could not hold a private channel forever, while also managing battlefield communications. Adult Naruto gave them the information in pieces. Obito had another eye technique tied to Kakashi's Kamui. Madara had also placed a control seal near Obito's heart. Adult Naruto had learned after the war that the seal was dangerous in two directions. It limited Obito's freedom, but it also gave Madara a way to keep him inside the plan. Naruto warned Kakashi not to destroy it, while Obito still had access to the 10 tails. If Kakashi was dragged into Kamui, his first goal was to return and keep Obito separated from the beast. The seal should only be broken if Madara was actively using it to force Rinne. Madara intended to return to life, not remain in immortal reanimation. The 10 tails was not just a weapon. 7-tailed beasts were bound inside it, along with stolen fragments of Gyuki and Kurama. Destroying it recklessly could kill or scatter them. Black Zetsu was not a harmless extension of Madara's will. It served a much older purpose and could not be trusted. Near Madara, Obito, or the 10 tails. He did not say Kaguya's name over the battlefield. Kakashi noticed the omission immediately. His visible eye narrowed. Through Ino's link, he asked whether there was something worse after Madara. Adult Naruto answered yes. That single word changed the mood of the group more than a long explanation would have. Shikamaru reacted first. His dark ponytail was caked with dust, and grief sat close beneath his focus. His father had died only a short time ago, yet his mind was already cutting the new information into usable pieces. He told Naruto not to waste time describing the entire future. They needed facts that affected the next 10 minutes. Adult Naruto almost smiled. That was the Shikamaru he knew. He gave them 5 priorities. Keep Obito from taking the 10 tails into himself. Keep Black Zetsu visible if possible. Do not allow Madara access to a living body through the Rinne rebirth technique. Preserve sealing teams. Protect the younger Naruto and Sasuke if Sasuke appeared. The younger Naruto interrupted the private link. He wanted to know why Sasuke was suddenly part of the plan. Adult Naruto felt every person in the connection pause. He had forgotten how complicated that name still was at this point in history. The younger Naruto demanded an answer. Adult Naruto said only that Sasuke was coming. The boy's face brightened so quickly that Adult Naruto immediately regretted the wording. Kakashi's visible eye curved slightly. Sakura, farther back among the medics, stopped bandaging a wounded shinobi for 1 second. Adult Naruto could almost hear the questions building. He cut them off by pointing toward the 10 tails. The monster had recovered from the redirected blast. Obito was no longer standing in the same place. That was bad. Kakashi saw the concern and scanned the battlefield with the Sharingan. Neji and Hinata expanded the range of their Byakugan. A wind release squad swept a controlled crosswind through the dust around the medical approaches, so any sudden distortion would disturb the moving particles. No one found Obito. Adult Naruto knew why. Kamui. He told Kakashi to prepare for an attack from any direction. The warning came a fraction too late. Obito emerged from distortion directly behind the younger Naruto. His right hand passed through the first chakra arm Adult Naruto swung at him. His left hand caught the younger Naruto's shoulder. Adult Naruto remembered that sensation. If Obito completed the pull, his younger self would be dragged into the Kamui dimension. Kakashi reacted before anyone else. His Mangekyo spun. The space around Obito's wrist warped. Obito released the younger Naruto and phased through the chakra arm, but the interruption cost him the capture. The younger Naruto hit the ground, rolled, and tried to counter with a Rasengan. His hand passed through Obito's chest. Obito struck him in the ribs. The boy flew across the ground. Adult Naruto was there before he landed. He caught his younger self by the jacket and set him on his feet. The boy immediately tried to rush forward again. Adult Naruto caught the back of his collar. The younger Naruto kicked uselessly at the air and demanded to be released. For one brief moment, Kakashi forgot the war and stared at the sight of Naruto physically restraining Naruto from doing something reckless. Adult Naruto realized what he was doing. It's the collar. He told the boy to watch Obito's rhythm instead of attacking the body he could see. Obito's technique had a weakness. He could not remain intangible and grab someone at the same time. The instant he wanted contact, he had to become solid. The younger Naruto knew part of that already. The difference was that adult Naruto understood how to force the timing. He created 2 shadow clones. One rushed Obito from the front. The second disappeared behind broken stone to the right. Adult Naruto moved left. The younger Naruto saw the shape of the plan and made 3 clones of his own. Obito phased through the first wave. He pivoted away from adult Naruto's kick. A younger clone attacked from below. Obito allowed the fist to pass through his abdomen, then reached for the clone's face. That was the solid moment. Kakashi warped a stone fragment into the Kamui dimension. Obito flinched. The fragment appeared inside the same space where part of his body had shifted. Adult Naruto's hidden clone struck from the blind side with a compact Rasengan. Obito twisted just enough to keep the sphere from hitting his chest. It tore through his shoulder instead. The scarred man was thrown across the ridge. He hit the ground once, rolled, and rose with blood darkening one sleeve. The younger Naruto shouted in triumph. Adult Naruto did not. Obito had learned something from the exchange. He now knew that Kakashi had been told the full secret of Kamui. He also knew adult Naruto could coordinate with the younger version without speaking. Obito looked at them with a colder expression than before. Then he stopped trying to capture the younger Naruto. He went after the medics. Adult Naruto cursed and moved. Obito's choice was intelligent. Adult Naruto possessed overwhelming power, but his behavior had already revealed the thing Madara would exploit for the rest of the battle. He would spend chakra to protect others. He would change direction to save people. He would abandon a good attack if civilians or allies entered its path. The strongest man on the field could still be controlled by giving him too many places to be. Obito emerged near the medical line. Sakura had just finished closing a deep wound on a Cloud Shinobi when the ground behind her twisted. She saw Kakashi's warning through Ino's link and dropped instantly. Obito's hand passed over her head. Sakura drove a chakra-enhanced fist into the ground. The earth erupted. Obito phased through the explosion, but the shockwave threw wounded shinobi and medics into danger. Golden chakra arms from adult Naruto caught the falling bodies before they struck broken stone and lowered them behind the nearest earth wall. Naruto arrived from above with a Rasengan large enough to crush a house. He saw Obito angle his body toward the injured men below. Naruto shrank the attack at the last second. That hesitation was exactly what Obito wanted. A black receiver drove toward Naruto's side. Naruto twisted. The rod scraped his ribs instead of piercing them. He caught Obito's wrist the instant the man became solid. For a heartbeat, they were face to face. Obito's visible eye studied the adult face. There was no shock left in him now. Only calculation. He asked whether this future Naruto had really obtained everything the younger one wanted. Adult Naruto tightened his grip. Obito continued before he could answer. He spoke of Neji, the destroyed headquarters, Jiraiya, and every person Naruto had failed to save. If Naruto came from a future where the war was won, then the dead proved that victory had still demanded sacrifices. Adult Naruto understood the tactic. Obito wanted the younger Naruto to hear. He wanted the boy to know that becoming Hokage had not created a world without graves. Naruto did not deny it. He said that people had died. The younger Naruto heard him. His expression changed. Obito's mouth curved slightly. Adult Naruto continued. He said that winning had not fixed everything. He had made bad decisions. He had missed dinners with his family. He had spent nights signing reports until the sun came up. He had argued with friends, failed missions, and watched people he loved get hurt. The younger Naruto looked confused by the part about dinners. Obito did too. Adult Naruto used that instant to headbutt him. The blow landed because Obito had chosen solidity to maintain his grip. Obito stumbled backward. Adult Naruto drove a knee into his stomach and sent him across the broken ground. The younger Naruto burst out laughing, despite himself. Even Sakura's mouth twitched. Adult Naruto looked at his younger self and said that the future had problems, but it was real. People argued, ate, worked, grew older, had children, made mistakes, and woke up the next morning to try again. That mattered more than a dream where no one was allowed to choose anything. Obito's face hardened. The younger Naruto's grin returned. It was not the speech Obito had expected. More importantly, it was not adult Naruto's speech alone. The younger Naruto stepped forward and said that if his future self could become that annoying and still call the world worth protecting, then he was not giving up now. Adult Naruto stared at him. The word annoying had been unnecessary. Kurama laughed inside him. The battlefield shook again. Madara had decided he had watched enough. A giant Susanoo arm swept across the field. Adult Naruto threw himself between it and the medical line. A golden chakra arm met the blue spectral blade. The collision split the ground. Naruto felt the difference immediately. Obito had been dangerous because of technique and timing. Madara was dangerous because technique and timing came attached to force that could level mountains. The Susanoo pressed down. Naruto's chakra arm bent. He formed another beside it and shoved upward. The younger Naruto joined him with two more. Earth release users behind them reinforced the ground under their feet until the cracked soil hardened into a stone platform. The blade rose. Madara stood in the distance with his arms folded. He looked almost disappointed that it had required effort. Adult Naruto knew that expression too. Madara wanted a direct fight. Naruto did not give him one yet. He sent a clone instead. The clone crossed the battlefield in sage mode, avoiding falling debris and wounded shinobi. Madara's Susanoo blade came down. The clone leaped onto the flat of the sword, ran along it, and launched a Rasen Shuriken at the spectral face. Madara raised one hand. A wall of Susanoo formed. The Rasen Shuriken detonated. Wind blades screamed across the armor. The blue chakra cracked in a spiderweb pattern. The clone passed through the dust and struck the damaged point with a sage-enhanced punch. The upper half of the Susanoo shattered. Madara finally moved. His hand caught the clone by the throat. The clone smiled. Madara's eyes narrowed. The clone dispersed. A second adult Naruto had already appeared above him. This one drove a small, dense Rasengan directly into Madara's chest. The impact buried the Uchiha deep into the ground. A crater opened beneath him. The younger Naruto cheered again. Adult Naruto landed at the edge and immediately backed away. He knew better. Madara rose from the crater with half his torso torn away. Dust drifted through the missing section of his body. The damage began rebuilding almost at once. Paper-like fragments and ash curling inward as the reanimation restored him. Madara looked down at himself. Then he laughed. The laugh was quiet at first. It grew as his body repaired. He had just received the answer he wanted. Adult Naruto was strong enough to destroy his current body. That did not mean he could finish him. Madara lifted his eyes toward the ceiling squads. Naruto saw the calculation. He shouted a warning. Madara vanished. The nearest ceiling team had time to raise a barrier before he appeared among them. His gunbai tore through the barrier. Two shinobi were thrown aside. A third tried to place a seal on his back. Madara caught the man's wrist and used him as a shield against a chakra arm from adult Naruto. Naruto changed the strike into a grab, pulling the sealer out of Madara's hand. Madara used the opening to destroy the stack of prepared sealing cloths with a fire technique. The flames vanished almost as quickly as they appeared. The damage was done. He did not need to beat adult Naruto. He needed to remove the things that could permanently stop him. Shikamaru understood it too. Through Ino's link, he ordered every sealing squad to divide their supplies and spread out. No more concentrated storage. Every team would carry only part of the necessary materials. If Madara attacked one unit, the others would remain operational. Adult Naruto approved the plan and sent clones to escort them. Shikamaru immediately rejected that. He told Naruto they could not afford to turn the strongest fighter on the field into a bodyguard for paper tags. Adult Naruto almost argued. Then he stopped. That was another old habit. As Hokage, he had learned to trust people with responsibility. Here, surrounded by faces from his youth, he kept wanting to protect everyone personally. He ordered only 2 clones to stay with the sealing units and returned his attention to the center. He said quietly that the older version really did listen to Shikamaru a lot. Adult Naruto replied that survival eventually taught even him useful habits. Shikamaru heard that through Ino's link. He sighed and said the future sounded exhausting. Adult Naruto nearly told him that he became the Hokage's chief advisor. He caught himself. Shikamaru's suspicious look told him he had caught the pause anyway. A new chakra signature appeared at the edge of the battlefield. Then another. Then 2 more. Adult Naruto froze. The sensation hit him harder than Madara's Susanoo had. One of those signatures was bright, fast, and painfully familiar. A yellow flash appeared on a distant ridge. A blond man in a white cloak stood there, with black cracks running across his reanimated face. 4th Hokage, Minato Namikaze, looked over the battlefield. His eyes passed across the younger Naruto. Then they stopped on the adult man wearing a Hokage cloak of his own. For the first time since arriving in the past, adult Naruto forgot what he was supposed to do next. Minato had imagined many things when Orochimaru brought him back to the world of the living. He had imagined seeing the village again. He had imagined meeting his son as a young man instead of the newborn he had left behind. He had imagined facing the masked man who had destroyed so much of their family. He had not imagined seeing that same son twice. The younger Naruto shouted for his father with the easy excitement of someone who had already passed through the first impossible reunion. Adult Naruto could not move. Minato's hair was the same bright blonde he remembered from the few moments they had shared. His blue eyes were alert. His white cloak carried the red flame trim of the 4th Hokage. The cracks of the reanimation technique ran along his cheeks and throat, a reminder that this was borrowed time. Adult Naruto had become older than his father had ever been. That realization landed strangely. Minato looked from one Naruto to the other, and then at the characters on the adult's back. 7th Hokage. His expression softened. He understood before anyone explained it. Adult Naruto walked toward him slowly. The war did not stop for them. Sealing teams moved past. Medics shouted. The 10 tails shifted in the distance. Madara had already turned toward Hashirama with a look that suggested the rest of the battlefield had temporarily become less interesting. Minato asked how far in the future he came from. Adult Naruto gave him a number of years. Minato looked him over again. He noticed the worn edge of the Hokage cloak, the lines around his son's eyes that had not existed at 16, the wedding band on his left hand. His gaze rested there for 1 second. Naruto curled his fingers instinctively. He had been thinking about Hinata, Boruto, and Himawari since the moment he understood where he was. He had kept those thoughts locked behind immediate danger because thinking about home while standing beside a younger Hinata was too complicated to manage during a war. Minato did not ask about the ring. He asked the question that mattered more. Was Konoha still standing? Adult Naruto nodded. He said it was larger than Minato would recognize. Then, he added that the stone faces on the mountain had become crowded. Minato's eyes moved to the symbol on Naruto's cloak. A smile touched his face. He said Kushina would have been impossible to live with after learning their son actually became Hokage. Adult Naruto laughed once, unexpectedly. The sound caught in his throat. He looked away toward the battlefield before the feeling could take control of him. Minato stepped closer and placed a hand on his shoulder. The contact felt cold because of the reanimated body. Naruto covered that hand with his own. He told Minato he had children. That was the one piece of personal future he chose freely. Minato's fingers tightened. Adult Naruto told him there were two. A son with blonde hair who had inherited an impressive talent for causing problems. A daughter who could terrify her brother despite being much smaller. The younger Naruto had drifted close enough to hear. His face turned bright red. He immediately demanded to know who he married. Adult Naruto ignored him. The younger Naruto moved around to stand in front of him. Adult Naruto looked over his shoulder instead. Unfortunately, Hinata was there. Her dark blue hair was dusty, and a tear in one sleeve showed where the battle had cut through her jacket. Her pale lavender eyes met his for half a second. She had heard everything. Adult Naruto suddenly found the 10 tails much easier to face. Sakura arrived from the medical line in time to understand the situation from everyone's expressions. She looked at young Naruto, then adult Naruto, then Hinata. A slow smile appeared on her face. Adult Naruto pointed toward the battlefield and announced that there were much more important things happening. Sakura agreed with suspicious enthusiasm. Young Naruto asked again. Adult Naruto refused again. Minato watched the exchange and made the mistake of glancing toward Sakura. Adult Naruto saw the thought forming on his father's face. He shut it down immediately. He said, "No." Sakura narrowed her green eyes. Young Naruto demanded to know what no meant. Adult Naruto said it meant everyone should focus on surviving. Hinata had turned so red that even Neji looked uncomfortable on her behalf. Neji adjusted his stance, and announced that the 10 Tails was moving again. Adult Naruto suspected that was partly true and partly an act of mercy. More figures reached them. Hashirama landed with enough force to crack the ground. Tobirama appeared beside him, silver hair rising sharply above the blue armor around his shoulders. Hiruzen followed a moment later. All three carried the dark cracks of reanimation across their skin. Hashirama looked at adult Naruto, looked at the younger Naruto, and reacted with open delight. He thought having two Jinchuriki of the Nine Tails on the same battlefield sounded useful. Tobirama thought it sounded dangerous. Adult Naruto liked him immediately for reaching the practical conclusion first. Tobirama stepped closer and studied the adult with the focus of a scientist examining a weapon that might explode. He asked for permission to touch Naruto's chakra directly. Naruto agreed, 2 fingers pressed against his wrist. Tobirama's sensory ability spread through the contact. His red eyes sharpened. He felt the seal space, Kurama, traces of other tailed beast chakra, the unusual quality of Naruto's natural energy, the physical age of his body. None of it matched an illusion or clone. Then Tobirama compared that chakra with the younger Naruto. The signatures were not identical. Time, experience, injuries, and the union of Kurama's full chakra had changed the adult version. But the foundation was the same. Tobirama asked whether adult Naruto's memories were changing as events changed. Naruto said no. He still remembered Neji dying, even though Neji was standing 20 meters away and pretending not to listen. Neji's expression became still. Hinata looked at her cousin. Adult Naruto regretted saying it so plainly, but the information mattered. Tobirama asked whether Naruto had felt his body destabilize after preventing the death. Again, no. That was enough for the 2nd Hokage to offer a working theory. This was probably not their future being rewritten. Adult Naruto had crossed from a different temporal branch or a separated point in space and time. His original history could continue independently. The changes here were creating a different sequence rather than erasing the traveler who caused them. Young Naruto understood about half of that. Hashirama understood less and was comfortable admitting it. Adult Naruto understood what the theory offered, not what it proved. If Tobirama was right, Neji living here had not erased Hinata, Boruto, or Himawari from the branch Naruto came from. He came from several years into his reign as 7th Hokage, after the battle with Momoshiki, while Kurama was still alive and fighting beside him. In his own history, Boruto and Himawari had been waiting at home, and Hinata had gone to sleep expecting her husband to return from work. Naruto chose to treat Tobirama's explanation as the best working model they had. The relief in his chest lasted only a few seconds before another weight replaced it. If his family still existed, then from their point of view, he had simply disappeared. Tobirama made the second problem clear. Whatever technique had brought adult Naruto here left no stable mark he could detect. It resembled neither the Flying Thunder God nor a standard summoning technique. If the breach had closed, recreating it during a battle would be reckless, even if they knew how. Naruto wanted to go home. That did not change. He simply had no route to follow yet, and thousands of people in front of him would die if he abandoned the battlefield to search blindly. He decided to survive this stage of the war first, and keep the temporal problem open rather than pretending it had been solved. Hashirama abruptly turned away. Madara had been staring at him for nearly a full minute. The first Hokage sighed with the expression of a man recognizing an old problem that had not improved with age. Madara called to him from across the field. Hashirama raised one hand and told him to wait. Madara's face went blank. Adult Naruto remembered hearing about this exchange. Seeing it happen was somehow funnier. Madara had returned from death, gained the power of the Rinnegan, summoned the 10 Tails, and helped start a world war. Hashirama still managed to make him look like someone waiting outside an office. Young Naruto laughed loudly. Madara's killing intent rolled across the field. Adult Naruto put a hand on his younger self's shoulder. He advised him not to encourage Hashirama. Hashirama heard that and looked offended. Tobirama agreed with adult Naruto. The brief humor ended when a new group approached from behind the Hokage. Orochimaru came first, pale face wearing the same unreadable interest Naruto remembered. Suigetsu followed with his huge sword. Jugo walked beside him. Then Sasuke stepped into view. Black hair framed a pale face that was younger and sharper than adult Naruto remembered. His gray high-collared shirt was marked from travel. A sword hung at his side. His eyes moved across the battlefield with the controlled intensity of someone who had just made a decision large enough to alter his life. Then he saw two Narutos. Sasuke stopped walking. Adult Naruto had waited years to see something genuinely surprise him. It was worth it. Young Naruto shouted his name. Sakura stared. Kakashi closed his eye for a moment, as though accepting that the day had become impossible several events ago. Sasuke ignored all of them and looked directly at adult Naruto's Hokage cloak. His eyes moved over the word 7th. Adult Naruto expected anger, questions, maybe suspicion. Instead, Sasuke looked annoyed. That was somehow more familiar. He asked whether Naruto truly became Hokage. Adult Naruto nodded. Sasuke's gaze sharpened. Young Naruto folded his arms proudly, as though he had already achieved the title personally. Then Sasuke said that he intended to become Hokage himself. Silence spread through the group. Adult Naruto closed his eyes and pressed two fingers to the bridge of his nose. He remembered this too. He had hoped time would make it sound more reasonable. It had not. Young Naruto immediately began shouting. Sakura's face tightened with confusion. Kiba, somewhere beyond them, heard enough to start shouting his own claim to the office. Adult Naruto considered telling everyone that the job was mostly paperwork. He decided not to destroy their dreams during a war. Sasuke noticed his reaction. That bothered him more than an argument would have. He demanded to know what happened between them in the future. Adult Naruto looked at the sword at Sasuke's side and the eyes that had not yet seen their final battle. He answered carefully. He said, Sasuke became someone Konoha depended on, nothing more. Sasuke studied him for a long moment. He recognized the refusal. For once, he did not press. There would be time for that conflict later, if they survived. Tobirama brought them back to the immediate problem. Before the commanders finalized the next formation, Katsuyu relayed a report from the distant battlefield where the 5 Kage had fallen. Tsunade had recovered enough strength to coordinate the healing of the others, but none of them were ready for another full battle. Once Katsuyu stabilized his internal injuries, he used his sand to carry himself back toward the main army rather than wait for the entire group to recover. He arrived several minutes later with fresh bandages under his red coat and less chakra than usual, but still capable of controlling the sand already spread through the battlefield. Tsunade, Mei, and Onoki remained under treatment. Katsuyu promised to keep the command group informed if their condition changed. Gaara ignored Sakura's first suggestion that he return to the medical line and asked where the evacuation routes needed him. The allied forces could not simply attack the Ten Tails from every direction. Madara was targeting sealing units. Obito was using Kamui to threaten command and medical lines. The Ten Tails itself could change forms and launch attacks over huge distances. Shikamaru joined the discussion through Ino's link. He proposed a layered formation. Hashirama would suppress the Ten Tails directly with wood release. Minato and Tobirama would mark T positions across the battlefield for rapid transport. Hiruzen would coordinate the elemental divisions and build layered earth, water, and fire screens wherever the monster's attacks broke through. Gaara would control evacuation corridors using sand. Sakura and Katsuyu would centralize medical triage, but divide treatment points so one attack could not destroy all support. Kakashi would focus on Obito's Kamui, with Guy close enough to protect him if the eye strain left him exposed. Killer Bee and Gyuki would hold the eastern assault wing and keep the Ten Tails from turning freely toward the medics. Sasuke and young Naruto would remain mobile strike forces. Jugo would stay near Sasuke, so natural energy could be fed into Susanoo if they needed to strike a Ten Tails Jinchuriki. Suigetsu would support the water teams and emergency fire control around the medical stations. Orochimaru would spread snakes through the broken ground to watch the underground routes for White Zetsu. He would remain close enough to advise Sakura and the sealing teams on anything abnormal in Obito's body. Adult Naruto would act as the reserve strong enough to respond wherever Madara or the Ten Tails broke the line. Adult Naruto listened. Then he made one change. He refused to remain the only reserve. He created 12 shadow clones, each carrying enough chakra to fight elite shinobi, but not enough to waste a major portion of his reserves. 4 went to the evacuation corridors. 2 went with sealing teams. 2 supported the medics. 2 watched for Black Zetsu with sensory shinobi. 1 joined Kakashi. 1 stayed beside young Naruto. The original remained free. Shikamaru approved. Tobirama approved with less enthusiasm because he disliked the idea of spreading a time-displaced Jinchuriki across the battlefield in 12 copies. Kurama approved because it meant Naruto had finally stopped trying to do every job with his original body. The plan went into motion. Hashirama slammed both hands to the ground. Massive wooden gates erupted around the Ten Tails. Roots as thick as buildings twisted across its limbs and forced its head down. The monster screamed and tore at them. Minato vanished in a yellow flash and began placing markers across the battlefield. Tobirama followed a different route, creating a network of positions that could be used for coordinated strikes. Gaara's sand lifted wounded shinobi onto moving platforms and carried them toward new medical stations. Sakura summoned more of Katsuyu's body across the field. Small slugs attached themselves to wounded shinobi, passing information and healing chakra where possible. The army changed shape. Hiruzen's elemental teams raised staggered earth walls instead of one continuous barrier, leaving channels where Suigetsu and the Mist Shinobi could flood burning ground without drowning the wounded. Guy moved beside Kakashi and deliberately kept the 7th gate in reserve, swatting White Zetsu away from the exhausted Sharingan user with ordinary taijutsu whenever possible. Farther east, Killer Bee and Gyuki hammered one of the Ten Tails' arms away from the evacuation route. For the first time since adult Naruto arrived, the Alliance was not merely reacting. It was building a system that could survive the next attack. Madara watched the new formation. His expression lost its amusement. Obito returned to his side, shoulder already treated enough to move. The two men exchanged only a few words. Adult Naruto could not hear them. Madara looked at the 12 Naruto clones spread across the battlefield. Then at the original. Then at the younger Naruto and Sasuke. He had learned enough. The old sequence of events was gone. He would no longer wait for it to return. Madara raised one hand toward the sky. Adult Naruto felt the chakra gather and knew that the next phase of the war had just become something he had never lived through. The first thing Madara changed was simple. He stopped aiming at Naruto. His Rinnegan focused on the sky. Clouds twisted above the battlefield. A shadow formed behind them. Faint at first, then wide enough to darken the ground. Several shinobi looked up. Their faces went pale. A meteor broke through the clouds. Young Naruto stared at it in disbelief. Adult Naruto did not. He had heard the stories from the division that survived Madara's earlier arrival. He knew what the Uchiha could drop from the sky. He also knew that this meteor was not centered on the strongest fighters. It was falling toward the new medical network. Madara had watched the Allied forces reorganize for less than 5 minutes and found the point where saving lives would cost adult Naruto the most chakra. Naruto moved. He entered Kurama's chakra form before his first footstep ended. Gold flooded over his black and orange clothes. The markings around his eyes sharpened. His white Hokage cloak lifted behind him as several massive chakra arms reached toward the sky. The clone assigned to Kakashi stayed at the silver-haired Jonin's side, while Guy guarded the same sector. Madara noticed that protection too. A narrow Susanoo blade cut through the falling debris toward Kakashi. The clone took the strike across its chakra cloak and dispersed while dragging 2 ceiling shinobi clear. Its memory hit the original Naruto at the exact moment he launched himself toward the meteor. Guy destroyed the next slab of stone with a kick, but the collapsing ridge forced him away from Kakashi to keep a row of wounded shinobi from being buried. Obito had waited for the field to create that gap. Sakura shouted for anyone able to walk to move under their own power. Katsuyu split herself into smaller pieces and covered the patients who could not. Adult Naruto reached the falling meteor in seconds. He did not slow it gently. There was no time. A giant Rasen Shuriken formed above his palm, its spinning edge screaming through the air. He drove it into the meteor's lower surface. The impact carved a glowing trench through stone. Naruto pushed harder. The meteor split. 2 halves separated above the battlefield. Young Naruto's eyes widened. Adult Naruto had just cut apart a mass of stone large enough to crush a district. Then both halves continued falling. Naruto had expected that. Minato appeared on one half and placed a hand against a flying thunder god mark, carried by one of Naruto's chakra arms. Tobirama appeared on the other. They did not teleport the entire masses. The chakra cost would be absurd. Instead, they used Naruto's arms as anchors, while Gaara flooded the broken seams with sand. Hashirama raised huge wooden ramps from the earth. The 2 meteor halves struck the ramps and changed direction just enough to crash into empty sections of the battlefield. The first impact threw a wall of dust over the Allied forces. The second buried 3 old ridges and opened a crater hundreds of meters wide. The medical line survived. Adult Naruto had already received the dead clone's memory and knew Obito had moved on Kakashi. Releasing the meteor even 1 second early would have dropped the western half directly across the wounded. He ordered Guy toward Kakashi through Ino's link. The distortion closed before Guy crossed the broken ridge. Adult Naruto landed hard and dismissed the Rasen Shuriken. The cost hit immediately, and Kurama growled inside him. Madara had spent one technique and forced Naruto, Gaara, Hashirama, Minato, Tobirama, dozens of evacuation squads, and several medics to respond. The exchange had been efficient, even though no important fighter had died. Naruto turned toward the 10 Tails as Guy reached an empty patch of ground where Kakashi had been standing. Obito had used the meteor as cover and dragged Kakashi into Kamui. Naruto knew what the scarred man would try to accomplish there, and he hated that his own warning had told Obito exactly which danger Kakashi now understood. The first distortion reopened near the 10 Tails. Kakashi fell out on one knee, one hand pressed against his bleeding Sharingan. His other hand was dark with blood that was not his. The second distortion opened a heartbeat later. Obito stepped through with a fresh hole torn through the left side of his chest. The wound had missed the heart itself, but adult Naruto saw the broken black pattern around it. Kakashi shouted that he had tried to keep the control seal intact. Inside Kamui, Obito had stopped trying to win. He had deliberately stepped into Raikiri, caught Kakashi's wrist with both hands, and pulled the attack through the exact place where Madara's seal was embedded. Kakashi had tried to tear his arm free. Obito had used his own body to force the strike deeper. The seal was gone because Obito had chosen the wound, not because Kakashi had followed Naruto's instruction. Obito heard the explanation and did not deny it. He had removed the last restraint that prevented him from turning on Madara completely. Kakashi tried to rise and nearly collapsed. A clone from the medical line reached him, pressed one hand against his shoulder, and transferred a measured reserve of Kurama's chakra. A small Katsuyu fragment sealed the worst bleeding around the Sharingan. The borrowed chakra would not restore the eye forever. It would give Kakashi several more precise uses before the strain became dangerous again. Adult Naruto told him to spend them only when Kamui was the only answer. Then Obito moved toward the 10 Tails. Neji and Hinata saw him move first. Minato reacted before adult Naruto crossed half the field. The old flying Thunder God formula he had placed on Obito years earlier was still present. Yellow light flashed behind the scarred man. Minato's kunai cut through the space where Obito's neck had been, but Obito used Kamui one final time and let the blade pass through him. He became solid only when both palms struck the 10 Tails' hide. Black sealing marks spread across his arms. Minato attacked again. Madara's Susanoo blade crashed between them and forced the 4th Hokage to teleport clear. Adult Naruto shattered the spectral weapon with one punch and lunged for Obito. He expected Madara to stop the man who had just freed himself from control. Madara did the opposite. A hair-thin strand of black matter rose from the root network beneath Obito's feet and disappeared into the wound Kakashi had opened near his heart. Adult Naruto sensed it for an instant before the 10 Tails chakra swallowed every smaller signature in the area. Madara saw the strand. The calm on his face told Naruto enough. Losing the heart seal had not left Madara without a contingency. Black Zetsu had found a new path into Obito. Madara was willing to let Obito become a temporary vessel because the Rinnegan and Zetsu still gave him a route back to life. Naruto drove forward. A forest erupted beneath him. Wooden branches coiled around his legs and torso. He tore through the first layer with chakra arms and destroyed the second with a compact Rasengan, but the delay was enough. Madara accepted a sage-enhanced strike through his regenerating body, simply to keep Naruto from reaching Obito cleanly. Naruto stretched a chakra hand toward the ceiling pattern. He missed by less than an arm's length as the 10 Tails collapsed inward. Obito did not stabilize cleanly. The first form that rose above the crater barely resembled a man. Pale flesh swelled over his body, one arm lengthened, and the black spheres behind him flickered in and out of shape. His face lost focus as the 10 tails flooded his mind with the memories and rage of the beasts inside it. Young Naruto and Sasuke moved to attack while the opening existed, but adult Naruto stopped them. The chakra pressure around the unstable body was tearing the ground apart on its own, and a careless strike could rupture the vessel with the tailed beasts still trapped inside. For several seconds, Obito fought himself. Images of Rin, Kakashi, Minato, and the life he had abandoned pulled against the 10 tails' will. Then, he forced his body back under control. The distorted arm shortened. Horn-like shapes rose from his head. Black Magatama markings settled across his chest, and the truth-seeking spheres became perfectly still. The brief instability was over. Somewhere inside that chaos, the thin strand of black Zetsu had disappeared from every sensor, except the memory adult Naruto now wished he had trusted sooner. Adult Naruto backed away immediately as Obito floated above the broken ground. The man who had relied on Kamui a moment earlier now carried the power of the 10 tails inside his own body. Young Naruto ran toward the adult, with Sasuke close behind. Adult Naruto raised one arm and stopped both. He warned them not to touch the black spheres. Sasuke's Sharingan tracked them. Young Naruto asked what they were. Adult Naruto explained that they could erase ninjutsu and destroy whatever they touched. Normal attacks would not be enough. Senjutsu worked. 6 paths power worked. Hashirama's head turned at once. That information mattered. Obito gave them no more time. He crossed the distance, faster than most of the battlefield could follow, and swung the black staff at adult Naruto's head. Naruto raised his forearm and caught the strike across the chakra cloak. The impact still launched him through 3 broken ridges before he could redirect the force. Adult Naruto hit the ground on his feet, slid backward, and stopped with one hand pressed into the earth. His arm hurt. That was good information. Obito's raw physical power was now high enough that careless blocks would accumulate damage. Naruto rose. Gold chakra brightened around him. Obito appeared again. This time, Naruto met him halfway. Their fists collided. The shockwave flattened dust in a circle around them. Naruto used the recoil to spin and drove a kick toward Obito's ribs. Obito raised the black staff. Naruto changed the kick into a feint and let a chakra arm strike from below. The arm hit Obito under the chin. He rose several meters. Naruto followed with a Sage-enhanced Rasengan. Obito brought one of the black spheres forward. Adult Naruto released the Rasengan before contact. The sphere passed through the fading chakra and missed his hand. He had remembered correctly. The truth-seeking material remained dangerous, even to someone who could damage Obito with Senjutsu. He could not treat it like ordinary chakra. Young Naruto watched from below. He formed Sage Mode. Sasuke grabbed his shoulder before he could jump. Young Naruto snapped at him. Sasuke pointed to the pattern of black spheres around Obito and said rushing straight upward would get him killed. Adult Naruto heard that and almost laughed. He never expected to see Sasuke explaining patience to Naruto while still planning to become Hokage himself. The humor lasted half a second. Obito extended both hands. The black spheres changed shape. 6 long rods shot toward the battlefield. They were not aimed at adult Naruto. Again, Obito had learned. 1 rod targeted Sakura's medical sector. 1 targeted a sealing unit. 1 targeted Neji and Hinata. 1 targeted Ino. 2 targeted young Naruto and Sasuke. Adult Naruto could intercept 3 at most before the others landed. That was the point. He moved toward Ino first, because losing communications would blind the army. A chakra arm struck the rod from the side, using a layer of natural energy. The contact destroyed part of the chakra arm, but changed the rod's path. Minato flashed to Neji and Hinata, and transported them away from the second. Gaara's sand grabbed the sealing unit, and pulled them beneath a stone shelf. Sasuke used his Susanoo ribcage around himself and young Naruto. The black rod pierced through the spectral defense anyway. Young Naruto shoved Sasuke aside, and hit the rod with a Sage-enhanced chakra arm. The contact blasted him backward, but the rod missed both. The final attack reached Sakura's sector. Adult Naruto's clone was already there. The clone looked at the rod, looked at the wounded shinobi behind him, and made the same decision the original would have made. He grabbed the rod with both hands while in Sage Mode. The black material ate through the golden cloak around his palms. The clone held it for less than 1 second. That was enough for Sakura to smash the earth beneath the patience and tilt the entire section downward. Katsuyu covered them. The rod passed over their heads. The clone dispersed. Its memory hit adult Naruto. Pain burned through his hands even though the original skin was untouched. Obito saw the flinch. He had found another lever. Naruto could create many bodies, but every clone returned its experience. A battlefield filled with endangered people could become a battlefield filled with repeated pain and mental overload. Kurama warned him not to make 50 clones just because he could. Naruto agreed. He reduced the number of active clones to 8. Shikamaru adjusted the formation around that limitation. This was the real fight now, not one person trying to overpower another. It was a contest over the entire field. Obito possessed enough force to erase sections of the army. Naruto possessed enough force to stop him, but every defense consumed attention. Madara remained immortal nearby. The 10 Tails chakra inside Obito made him stronger than the Obito adult Naruto remembered fighting before the transformation. Black Zetsu had vanished completely, and young Naruto was watching everything. Adult Naruto landed beside him. He told the boy to keep Sage Mode active and stop trying to copy the size of his attacks. Young Naruto frowned. Adult Naruto pointed at Obito. The problem was not making a bigger Rasengan. The problem was creating one clean opening where a Sage attack could land without a truth-seeking orb intercepting it. Sasuke understood. They needed to control Obito's options. Kakashi arrived with his Sharingan bleeding from strain. He had bad news. Kamui was not a clean answer to the truth-seeking spheres. Kakashi could begin warping one if it remained still long enough. But Obito was moving and reshaping them the moment the distortion touched their edges. Tracking a fist-sized target that could change direction instantly was already costing Kakashi blood and vision. Trying to remove every sphere would exhaust his eye before it solved the battle. Adult Naruto had expected a limitation like that, but Kamui was still useful for something else. He asked Kakashi whether he could open a small distortion behind Obito for less than a second. Kakashi said yes, if someone could make Obito hold still. Young Naruto grinned. Sasuke said that expression usually meant a bad idea. Adult Naruto looked at his younger self. It did. Unfortunately, it was also close to the plan adult Naruto had just formed. He hated discovering that some habits survived adulthood. They prepared quickly. Hashirama sent wooden dragons toward Obito from 3 angles. He infused them with natural energy through Sage Mode, making them dangerous enough that Obito could not simply ignore them. Obito cut the first dragon apart with a black staff. The second wrapped around his waist. He destroyed it with a truth-seeking sphere. That left only 4 spheres in their original defensive pattern for a moment. Sasuke attacked next. Amaterasu appeared across Obito's left side. The black flames did not seriously injure him. He blocked with a truth-seeking shield and dispersed the technique. That moved another sphere. 3 remained. Young Naruto created dozens of clones. Adult Naruto almost shouted at him for wasting chakra. Then he saw the difference. They were not all attacking. Half carried ordinary stones. The clones threw them from every direction. Obito ignored the stones at first. Then one stone burst into a transformed shadow clone directly beside his head. The clone punched with sage power. Obito blocked. Another stone transformed. Then another. The battlefield filled with cheap attacks that could become dangerous at unpredictable moments. Adult Naruto smiled. His younger self had listened. The attacks were smaller. The purpose was control. Obito's eyes moved constantly. He shifted the remaining truth-seeking spheres to intercept the sage strikes. Kakashi waited. Adult Naruto entered the pattern. He did not use a giant technique. He moved through the clones and stones, with a Rasengan no wider than his palm. Obito saw him and brought 2 spheres together into a shield. Naruto stopped short. A chakra arm extended past the shield, not to strike Obito, but to grab the edge of a broken Hashirama root behind him. Naruto pulled himself sideways. Obito turned. That was the opening. Kakashi's Mangekyo spun. Space warped behind Obito's right shoulder. Young Naruto's clone had already been thrown into that distortion by Minato from a marked position. The clone appeared behind Obito for less than a second. Its sage-powered fist connected with the back of his head. Obito lurched forward. Adult Naruto's small Rasengan hit his stomach. Natural energy exploded through the impact. Obito crashed into the ground. The entire battlefield shook. For the first time since becoming the 10 Tails Jinchuriki, blood ran from the corner of his mouth. Young Naruto shouted that it worked. Adult Naruto did not celebrate. Obito rose from the crater. His body was already repairing. The wound mattered, but it was not enough. He looked at young Naruto now, instead of the adult one. That worried Naruto more than anger would have. Obito had understood the same thing. The adult was the greater force. The younger one was the center of the field. If Obito could break him, the army around him would break too. The next phase would not be decided by who could create the larger explosion. Obito stopped attacking for several seconds. That was more unsettling than another barrage. He hovered above the battlefield and looked down at the younger Naruto. His transformed face was difficult to read, but adult Naruto recognized the direction of his attention. Obito had spent years building a belief that everyone eventually surrendered to loss. The younger Naruto had been the final person he wanted to prove it to. Now the future version of that boy stood nearby, wearing a Hokage cloak. Obito could not erase that evidence with an argument. So he tried to change what the evidence meant. He spoke loudly enough for the nearby shinobi to hear. He pointed out that the adult Naruto had already admitted people still died in his future. Neji had died there. The headquarters had been destroyed. Jiraiya was gone. Peace had not prevented pain. Becoming Hokage had not created the perfect world the younger Naruto once imagined. Young Naruto's expression tightened. Adult Naruto watched him instead of Obito. This mattered more than another attack. The younger version of himself had always fought through impossible situations by turning emotion into movement. Sometimes that made him inspiring. Sometimes it made him careless. Right now, there was nowhere to punch. He had to accept that his dream would not magically protect everyone. Adult Naruto did not rescue him from the thought. He simply told the truth. He said he had attended funerals as Hokage. He had signed mission reports that ended with names crossed out. He had made decisions that sent people he cared about into danger. His children had grown up in a safer village than he had. But safe did not mean painless. Young Naruto looked at him. Adult Naruto reached down and picked up a broken Konoha forehead protector from the dirt. The metal plate was bent. The cloth had been burned away on one side. He turned it over in his hand and said the point of peace had never been to make human beings impossible to hurt. The point was to give them lives worth returning to after the fighting stopped. Obito said that was a weak answer. Young Naruto answered before adult Naruto could. He said it sounded better than putting everyone to sleep, because reality refused to obey him. Several nearby shinobi laughed under their breath. Obito's eyes sharpened. Young Naruto continued. He said that if Neji could die in one future and live in this one, then that alone proved choices mattered. The adult Naruto had not arrived with a perfect solution. He had arrived with another chance, and he used it. Neji heard every word. His pale eyes moved toward adult Naruto. He had been quiet since learning what was supposed to happen to him. Now he stepped beside young Naruto. He said that he had spent too much of his life believing fate was a cage built before birth. He had already been wrong once. He had no intention of becoming proof for Obito's argument now. Adult Naruto looked at him and felt the old memory rise anyway. Neji falling. Hinata's shaking hands. The blood. He pushed the image down. This Neji was alive. Treating him like a ghost would insult the choice he had just made. Obito's chakra rose. The black spheres behind him spread outward. Adult Naruto sensed the change and shouted for everyone to move. 4 enormous red structures erupted around the central battlefield. A barrier formed between them, sealing thousands of shinobi inside a vast square. Young Naruto looked upward. Adult Naruto knew this one too. Obito was about to create tailed beast bombs inside the barrier. In the original sequence, escape had depended on the flying thunder god and Minato's marks. This time, Obito had altered the barrier's shape. The corners stood farther apart, and the interior space was wider. He had watched Minato and Tobirama establish their teleportation network and deliberately placed 2 barrier walls through marked positions, cutting off some anchors from the inside. The future memory gave adult Naruto warning. It did not give him the old solution. 4 black spheres began forming near the barrier corners. Shikamaru's voice entered the private mental network. He asked how long they had. Adult Naruto estimated less than a minute. Shikamaru immediately divided the problem. They could not destroy the barrier before the bombs detonated. Teleporting everyone was impossible with the available marks. Blocking 4 simultaneous explosions would drain even adult Naruto and Hashirama heavily. They needed to reduce the number of bombs that actually detonated inside. Minato and Tobirama could move too if they created new marks close enough. That left 2. Gaara suggested burying one deep beneath layers of sand and earth, forcing most of the blast upward. Hashirama could reinforce that containment with wood. That left 1. Every mind in the link went quiet. Adult Naruto knew what they expected. He could take it. Kurama cursed before Naruto even volunteered. The fox reminded him that being capable of surviving something did not make standing inside an explosion a good plan. Adult Naruto agreed. He had a better idea. He asked young Naruto for chakra. The boy blinked. Adult Naruto explained quickly. Their chakra signatures were close enough that their Kuramas might be able to synchronize for a shared construct. Not a new transformation. Not a fusion. Just 2 separate chakra avatars pushing the same object at the same time. Young Naruto grinned. Inside both seal spaces, 2 versions of Kurama reacted very differently. The younger fox bristled at the idea of taking instructions from an older version of himself. The adult Kurama informed him that this attitude was exactly why everyone found him difficult at that age. The younger Kurama demanded to know when he had become so irritating. The adult one replied that maturity had given him perspective. Naruto heard enough of the exchange through the chakra contact to start laughing in the middle of a death trap. Young Naruto heard his own Kurama complaining and began laughing too. Sasuke stared at both of them as if he had made a serious mistake by returning to the battlefield. The moment passed. The bombs grew larger. Everyone moved. Minato flashed to the first corner with a marked kunai between his fingers. Obito launched a black rod toward him. Tobirama intercepted with his own teleportation, appearing long enough to deflect the rod with a tagged weapon before vanishing again. Minato touched the first bomb as it stabilized. It disappeared. Far beyond the barrier, an explosion lit the horizon. Tobirama reached the second bomb. Madara attacked him. The Uchiha had understood the plan and refused to let it happen cleanly. A Susanoo blade swept through Tobirama's path. The 2nd Hokage teleported above it, but Madara was already moving to the new position. Adult Naruto sent a clone. The clone hit Madara from the side with a sage-enhanced kick, powerful enough to tear the upper half of the reanimated body away. There was no reason to turn it into a long duel. Madara could regenerate, and the clone only needed 1 second. Tobirama touched the bomb. It vanished. The second distant explosion followed. At the third corner, Gaara dropped both hands. Sand swallowed the growing sphere. Earth release users reinforced it with layer after layer of rock. Hashirama drove wooden roots around the entire mess and pushed it deep beneath the battlefield. The bomb detonated underground. The surface heaved. A column of fire broke upward through the center of the containment. Several roots shattered. Gaara staggered as the sand around the blast was ripped apart, blood running from his nose. The explosion went upward instead of across the trapped army. 3 bombs handled. The 4th fired. Adult Naruto and young Naruto released Kurama's chakra at the same time. 2 enormous fox-shaped avatars rose inside the barrier. The younger construct burned brighter orange. The adult one was denser, its movements more controlled. They did not merge. They stood shoulder to shoulder. The tailed beast bomb crossed the barrier interior. Both Kuramas struck it with their forearms. The sphere compressed against the chakra. The barrier behind them prevented redirecting it sideways. Adult Naruto shouted for everyone behind the avatars to get low. The 2 Kuramas pushed upward. The bomb resisted. Young Naruto's avatar began sliding backward. Adult Naruto could have taken more of the load for a few seconds. Concentrating the pressure on one avatar would destabilize its damaged side and leave him no free chakra to intercept Obito. The safer solution was to keep the force balanced between both Kuramas. He told the boy to stop pushing from his shoulders. Young Naruto yelled that foxes did not have shoulders like people. Adult Naruto yelled back that this was not the time. Inside the avatars, the 2 Kuramas roared at both of them. Young Naruto adjusted anyway. He lowered the avatar's center of gravity, drove its tails into the ground, and pushed from the whole body. The sphere rose. Adult Naruto matched him. Together they forced the bomb toward the top of the barrier. Obito descended above it. He raised a truth-seeking staff and struck the adult avatar across the face. The golden chakra tore open. Adult Naruto felt the impact across his own cheek. The bomb dropped several meters. Young Naruto held it. Adult Naruto released his avatar's right arm and lunged upward in his own body. Obito met him. They exchanged 4 blows in less than a second. Obito's staff grazed Naruto's cloak and erased a strip of fabric. Naruto's fist hit Obito's ribs with natural energy. Obito recovered and drove a knee toward Naruto's stomach. Naruto caught the leg, spun, and threw him toward the barrier wall. A truth-seeking sphere intercepted Obito's flight and became a platform beneath his feet. He pushed off it. Adult Naruto saw the next strike coming toward young Naruto. He could not intercept without releasing the bomb. Sasuke could. A dark arrow from Susanoo hit Obito's path. Obito blocked with a black shield. Sakura used the instant to leap from a sand platform and punch the side of the shield. Her fist did not touch the truth-seeking material. She struck the ground beneath its edge, sending a slab of earth upward into it. The shield shifted. Young Naruto's Sage Clone hit Obito from behind. The attack did little damage, but it broke his line toward the boy. Adult Naruto returned both hands to the bomb. The two Kurama avatars pushed again. This time, Minato appeared above them. The yin half of Kurama, sealed inside him, was feeding chakra into the rapid flying Thunder God chain. That was why Minato had not added a third Fox avatar to the struggle below. He had placed a new mark on a fragment of Hashirama's wood that protruded through the barrier ceiling. He told them to give him 1 more meter. The two Narutos forced the bomb upward. The sphere touched the edge of Minato's marked space. Yellow light flashed. The bomb vanished. The explosion appeared high above the barrier. The pressure struck the top of the red walls and rolled outward into the sky. The barrier remained. The army remained. Thousands of shinobi stared upward. Then the cheering began. It spread unevenly at first. A few voices from the leaf. Then the sand. Then the cloud and stone. People who had spent hours watching the Ten Tails erase divisions had just survived 4 tailed beast bombs trapped inside a barrier. Adult Naruto heard the sound and understood why Obito's attention returned to young Naruto. The boy was grinning, despite blood on his lip and dirt across his face. He had helped turn a death sentence into a victory. Obito's plan to show him inevitable despair had produced the opposite result. The barrier began to crack under Hashirama's attacks from inside. Adult Naruto dropped his chakra avatar and landed. His knees bent more than he intended. Sakura noticed. She was beside him before he could pretend otherwise. Her pink hair was stuck to her forehead with sweat, and her gloves were torn. She pressed 2 fingers against his wrist and examined the flow of chakra. She told him he was using too much, too quickly. Naruto said he had plenty left. Sakura looked at him with exactly the same expression she had used as a teenager when he said something medically stupid. Adult Naruto corrected himself. He said Kurama had plenty left. That did not improve her expression. She ordered him to drink water and eat one of the ration pills carried by the medical corps before the next major exchange. Adult Naruto started to say there was no time. Sakura held the ration pill between 2 fingers and looked at him. He took it. Young Naruto watched with fascination. He asked whether Sakura still bossed him around after he became Hokage. Adult Naruto swallowed the pill and said some forces in the world could not be overcome by rank. Young Naruto looked deeply concerned about his future. The brief rest lasted less than a minute. Neji approached Adult Naruto while the others prepared to break the barrier. He did not ask for details about his death. He asked whether Hinata survived the original war. She was helping an injured Hyuga stand, dark hair moving across her face as she checked the man's chakra points. Neji relaxed in a way so small, most people would have missed it. Then he asked whether his death had accomplished anything. Adult Naruto considered lying. He chose something better. He said it had mattered to him. It had mattered to Hinata. It had mattered to everyone who loved Neji. But the world had not required Neji to die in order to move forward. This battlefield had already proved that. Neji looked down at his hands. Then, he nodded once. He returned to Hinata without asking anything else. Adult Naruto watched him go. Minato landed nearby. He had heard enough to understand. He told Naruto that saving someone did not create a debt they had to repay by becoming important. Naruto knew. He had learned that lesson slowly. The barrier finally broke. Red walls shattered into chakra fragments. Obito rose higher into the air. Madara's body had fully regenerated again. Hashirama faced him across a ruined stretch of ground. Black Zetsu remained missing. That worried Adult Naruto more every minute. There were too many chakra signatures, thousands of allies, reanimated shinobi, Hashirama's wood, fragments of the Ten Tails chakra, Obito himself burning like a star. Finding one creature designed to hide among all of that was like looking for a drop of ink in a river at night. Naruto opened his eyes. The war had survived Obito's first attempt to erase the army. Now they had to do something harder. They had to take the 10 tails away from him without killing the tailed beasts inside. The problem sounded simple when Shikamaru reduced it to one sentence. Separate Obito from the 10 tails. Everything beneath that sentence was difficult. Killing Obito outright risked losing control of the tailed beast chakra inside him. Destroying his body with an attack large enough to guarantee death could harm the beasts as well. Allowing him time to stabilize made him stronger. Waiting for his control to fail on its own meant giving him more chances to wipe out the army. Adult Naruto knew one thing from the original war. Obito's connection to the 10 tails could be pulled apart through the chakra of the tailed beasts, but it required contact, leverage, and enough people to overcome his will. The exact circumstances had already changed. Shikamaru built a new version of the plan around what they still had. The first step was forcing Obito to spend his truth-seeking spheres away from his body. The second was binding his movement long enough for the Narutos to establish chakra contact. The third was turning the allied forces themselves into leverage. Sasuke disliked the third part. He stood with his sword resting against one shoulder, while adult Naruto explained it. His black eyes were cold and direct. He pointed out that most of the army could not survive contact with Obito's chakra or his black weapons. Adult Naruto agreed. They would not touch Obito. They would touch Naruto. Kurama's chakra could connect them safely. Once, adult Naruto established a link to the tailed beast chakra inside Obito. Every shinobi still able to stand could pull through the protective network. Sasuke understood the mechanics and found a different objection. Obito would target the network the moment it formed. That was where Sasuke came in. Adult Naruto told him he needed Susanoo to protect the core of the formation. Sasuke's eyes narrowed. He wanted to know whether he took orders from Naruto in the future too. Adult Naruto said, rarely. That answer bothered Sasuke. Then, adult Naruto added that Sasuke usually disappeared before anyone could give him work. Young Naruto burst out laughing. Sakura looked at Sasuke with sudden interest. Sasuke's face remained controlled, but one eyelid twitched. Adult Naruto decided that was enough future information for the day. The plan began with Hashirama. The first Hokage entered Sage Mode and summoned a ring of massive wooden hands around Obito. The hands did not attack together. They struck in sequence from different heights, forcing Obito to keep moving rather than destroy everything with one truth-seeking shield. Obito cut through the first hand. The second grabbed his ankle. He destroyed it with a black sphere. The third came from above. Another sphere became a staff and split it. The fourth and fifth attacked together. Obito used 2 more spheres. Adult Naruto counted. 3 remained close to his body. Young Naruto and Sasuke entered next. Sasuke covered the younger Naruto in a partial Susanoo, while the boy formed a huge Sage-enhanced Rasen Shuriken. They did not aim at Obito. Young Naruto threw it at the ground behind him. Obito reacted exactly as they hoped. He sent one sphere backward to form a shield, expecting the explosion to catch him from behind. The Rasen Shuriken struck the earth early. Wind blades tore a trench across the battlefield and filled the air with stone. The real attack came through the dust. Minato teleported adult Naruto to a marked kunai directly above Obito. Naruto dropped with a Sage-enhanced heel kick. The ground beneath him cratered. Adult Naruto did not try to break the staff. He caught it with 2 chakra arms, both coated in natural energy, and pulled. Obito pulled back. Their strength locked for a heartbeat. Young Naruto's clone emerged from the dust and drove a Rasengan into Obito's left shoulder. Sasuke's Chidori spear followed through the opening. Obito released the staff and moved backward before the lightning hit his chest. That was the point. He had given up one of his prepared defensive shapes. Tobirama appeared behind him. A ceiling tag touched Obito's back. The tag lasted less than a second before Ten Tails chakra burned it away, but that second let Hashirama's wooden dragons coil around both arms. Obito roared and tore one free. Adult Naruto was already in front of him. He placed one palm against Obito's chest. The contact felt like plunging his hand into a storm. Chakra rushed through him. he felt the 10 tails. Vast, angry, fractured. Beneath its monstrous pressure were familiar signatures. Shukaku, Matatabi, Isobu, Songoku, Kokuo, Saiken, Chome. 7 complete tailed beasts were bound inside the 10 tails. Beneath them, Naruto also felt the stolen portion of Gyuki and the old fragment of Kurama's chakra that had been used to complete the beast's revival. Those last two were not full second copies of the 8 and 9 tails. They were pieces twisted into the same mass. Adult Naruto had carried pieces of their chakra for years. That familiarity gave him a path. He called to them. From the eastern flank, Killer Bee felt Gyuki react to the stolen fragment inside Obito and joined the chakra line through one of Naruto's extensions. The response from the bound beasts was immediate. The chakra inside Obito lurched toward him. Obito's eyes widened. He understood the danger and drove a knee into Naruto's stomach. Adult Naruto's body folded around the impact. He did not release his grip. Obito hit him again. A black rod formed in his free hand. Young Naruto caught Obito's wrist with a Sage Chakra arm before the rod could reach adult Naruto's chest. The younger version placed his own hand against Obito's side. The connection expanded. For an instant, the battlefield disappeared from both Narutos. They stood in a dark inner space filled with enormous currents of chakra. Obito stood opposite them. Behind him rose the distorted presence of the 10 tails. Adult Naruto saw flashes within it. The eyes of the tailed beasts. Chains. Old hatred. The memory of being used by human beings for generations. Young Naruto felt it too. He did not have adult Naruto's years of understanding, but he had already earned Kurama's cooperation and met several of the others. He called their names. That mattered. The chakra currents shifted. Obito pushed back. His will spread through the space like a wall. Images flashed around them. Rin dying. Kakashi's hand through her chest. The cave where Madara had shaped a broken boy into a weapon. The years Obito spent watching the world through holes in masks and borrowed identities. Adult Naruto knew these memories were not excuses. They were part of the mechanism holding Obito to the 10 tails. The younger Naruto tried to pull harder. Nothing moved. Adult Naruto stopped him. Strength alone would not break this. Outside, their bodies were still locked in combat. Inside, Obito was not just holding chakra. He was holding the story he had built around his pain. If that story remained stronger than the lives calling him back, the 10 tails would stay with him. Young Naruto looked at the adult version. Adult Naruto understood what he was asking. He stepped back. This part belonged to the boy. Young Naruto faced Obito. He did not give a perfect speech. He was angry. He accused Obito of using Rin's death to decide what everyone else was allowed to feel. He pointed out that Kakashi had suffered too, and did not build a false world. He said, losing people could break someone, but being broken did not give them the right to break everyone else. Obito attacked the contradiction immediately. He reminded young Naruto that adult Naruto had admitted to failures and deaths. He asked how many losses it would take before the younger version finally accepted that the world could not be fixed. Young Naruto looked toward his adult self. Adult Naruto said nothing. He did not want the boy to borrow his answer. He said he did not know. That surprised Obito. The boy admitted that he did not know how many people he would lose. He did not know what kind of Hokage he would become. He did not know who he would marry, because the idiot standing behind him refused to say. Adult Naruto almost objected. Even in the inner chakra space, young Naruto managed to drag the embarrassing subject back into the conversation. Obito looked confused by the detour. Young Naruto continued before the moment broke. He said not knowing was the reason choices mattered. The adult version standing there proved one possible future. Neji standing alive outside proved another. The future could change. That made it worth fighting for. The chakra behind Obito trembled. Outside, Hinata saw adult Naruto's hand locked against Obito, and understood that something had begun. She placed her palm against a golden chakra tail extending from Naruto's cloak. Neji did the same. Their chakra entered the network. Sakura joined next. Then Kakashi, Gaara, Ino, Shikamaru. Minato placed a cold, reanimated hand against his son's chakra cloak. Hashirama and Tobirama joined from opposite sides while maintaining their restraints. Sasuke hesitated. Young Naruto's physical body was still gripping Obito, teeth clenched with effort. Sasuke looked at him. Then at adult Naruto. He placed one hand on the chakra cloak. The connection spread. Ino carried Shikamaru's order across the battlefield. Every shinobi who could safely reach one of Naruto's chakra extensions grabbed it. Thousands of hands closed around golden chakra. Adult Naruto felt the weight immediately. He was not giving each person a full combat cloak now. That would cost too much. He gave them only enough stable chakra to create a line between their bodies and his own. The allied forces pulled. Inside the chakra space, figures began appearing behind the two Narutos. They were not perfectly formed people. They were impressions carried through the network. Intent, effort, refusal. Obito's hold shifted. He pushed back harder. Outside, his body erupted with force. One wooden restraint shattered, then another. A truth-seeking sphere shot toward the network of shinobi. Sasuke's full Susanoo rose around the central group. The sphere tore through one layer of armor. Sasuke reinforced it. A second layer cracked. Sakura slammed both hands into the ground and raised a wall of stone beneath the sphere's path. The black material erased the top of the wall, but the angle changed. Minato teleported the sphere's nearest target away. No one released the chakra line. Obito sent another sphere at the opposite side. Gaara compressed sand into a moving shield and redirected it just enough that the sphere passed between two groups. Adult Naruto felt every correction through the network. This was what Obito had misunderstood about power. Naruto was the strongest individual among them, but the solution did not come from him carrying everyone. It came from everyone carrying a piece of the same problem. The tailed beast chakra moved. A red arm emerged from Obito's body, then a blue one, then more. The shapes of tails and heads appeared in the chakra between him and the Narutos. Young Naruto shouted for everyone to pull. The allied forces leaned backward as one. Boots dug into dirt. Hands tightened. Injured shinobi braced against stronger comrades. Medics who had finished stabilizing patients joined lines beside combat units. Sand shinobi pulled next to stone shinobi. Cloud next to mist. People who had been enemies months earlier now fought over the same rope of golden chakra. His transformed body began losing its smooth control. The horn shape cracked along one side. Inside, the young Naruto took another step toward him. He held out his hand. Obito stared at it. Adult Naruto watched the conflict pass across the man's face. For a moment, he saw the boy Kakashi had once known, rather than the masked man who started the war. Obito did not take the hand. He stopped pulling away from it. That was enough. The pull finally broke Obito's control, and the battlefield exploded in color. Shukaku hit the ground first, in a storm of sand. Matatabi followed in blue flame, then Izobu, Son Goku, Kokuo, Saiken, and Chomei. They emerged as exhausted but complete tailed beasts, not loose clouds of chakra. A much smaller horned mass tore free beside them, as the stolen fragment of Gyuki returned to Killer Bee and the full Gyuki inside him. The fragment of Kurama's chakra clearly belonged to this timeline. The younger Kurama pulled it back into young Naruto's cloak, rather than letting it drift toward the adult copy from another branch. The full Gyuki remained inside Bee, and both versions of Kurama remained separate. The Ten Tails pressure collapsed, but its physical husk did not appear on the battlefield. Adult Naruto felt the demonic statue of the outer path remain sealed deep inside Obito. Its enormous life force was the only reason the former Jinchuriki did not die the instant seven-tailed beasts were ripped out of him. The truth-seeking spheres lost formation, and Obito fell from the sky. Naruto released the network and caught him before he struck the ground. Obito was suddenly much lighter. The pale transformed skin receded, his scarred face returned, and his breathing became shallow. Sakura reached them long enough to confirm what Naruto had sensed. Something vast and foreign still occupied the deepest part of Obito's chakra system. Removing it now would kill him. For the moment, the statue was keeping him alive as much as it was making him dangerous to keep. Young Naruto landed beside them, exhausted but still standing. Obito looked at him, then at the 7th Hokage cloak, and asked whether becoming Hokage had been worth it. Adult Naruto glanced across the battlefield. Neji was alive. Hinata was helping Sakura. Minato stood with the other Hokage. Killer Bee was already talking to the weakened tailed beasts. Gaara's sand created space around them, so frightened shinobi did not crowd creatures who had spent years being used as weapons. Thousands of people who should have died inside the barrier were still moving. Naruto answered yes. Obito closed his eye. The central battle against the Ten Tails Jinchuriki was over. The allied forces began cheering again, and this time adult Naruto allowed himself to believe they had earned the moment. Then Kurama spoke inside him. The fox had sensed something beneath the ground. Something black. Something moving very fast toward Obito. Adult Naruto's head snapped up. His smile disappeared. Black Zetsu had finally made his move. Adult Naruto moved the instant Kurama warned him. A black shape broke through the ground beneath Obito. Naruto threw the former Jinchuriki toward Minato and drove a sage-enhanced Rasengan into the rising mass. Black Zetsu split apart. The Rasengan tore a hole through the center, but the creature behaved less like flesh than living oil. Two black sheets peeled away from the attack. One vanished into a root-filled crack before Naruto could close his hand around it. Neji followed the moving stain with Byakugan for several meters, but it merged into the underground network of white Zetsu and disappeared beneath overlapping chakra signatures. Ino immediately marked the direction for the sensor teams. They had not captured all of it. The second sheet stretched toward Obito's right side. Naruto caught it with a chakra arm and slammed it into the dirt. The black substance flattened under the impact, crawled around the golden fingers, and sent a thin strand toward Obito's sleeve. Naruto ripped it away. Another strand then emerged from the back of Obito's neck. Adult Naruto recognized it immediately. This was the black filament he had sensed slipping into the wound Kakashi had opened in Obito during the unstable Ten Tails transformation. Everyone had been watching Obito fight for control, while the Ten Tails chakra drowned smaller signals. Black Zetsu had used that exact interval to thread itself through the damaged tissue around the old control seal. Madara had seen the contingency being planted, and had protected the transformation because of it. The hidden strand spread across the right half of Obito's body. Obito's eye opened. His expression twisted with alarm. He tried to move his left arm. Zetsu forced the right one upward. Adult Naruto knew the hand pattern before the fingers finished forming. Rinne Rebirth. He seized Obito's wrist. The hand stopped. Naruto grabbed two of the fingers and bent them backward, until the seal broke. Obito grunted in pain. Adult Naruto apologized quickly. Obito told him to break the whole hand if necessary. That answer would have been impossible from the man who had controlled the Ten Tails minutes earlier. Naruto tightened his grip. Black Zetsu crawled over Obito's fingers and formed a dark shell around them. The shell shaped itself into the missing seal. Naruto tore the black material away. A fireball exploded beside him. He turned his shoulder into the blast and shielded Obito. Hashirama landed a moment later. Wooden dragons reaching for the Uchiha. Madara's Susanoo cut through two. Hashirama caught the third blade between enormous wooden palms. Their clash moved away from Obito, but that was exactly what Madara wanted. Every second Hashirama spent containing him was a second no one else could help remove Zetsu. Adult Naruto shouted for Kakashi. The silver-haired Jonin appeared on the far side of Obito. The reserve of Kurama chakra he had received after Kamui was already running low, and blood had started gathering beneath the Sharingan again. Kakashi understood that every use from here had to matter. His eye locked on the black mass. Kamui twisted space around it. Zetsu released Obito's shoulder and flattened against his chest, keeping most of its body too close to separate cleanly without taking Obito with it. Zetsu had chosen its position well. Adult Naruto could tear it away physically, but every tendril he removed revealed another already threaded around Obito's muscles. Obito was fighting from inside. His left hand clawed at the black substance, while his controlled right arm tried to form seals. Minato appeared beside him and used a marked kunai to pin the sleeve to the ground. Zetsu ripped the cloth apart. Tobirama added a sealing formula directly to Obito's forearm. For a moment, the black tendrils stopped moving. Naruto felt hope. Then, Madara changed targets. He abandoned Hashirama and attacked young Naruto. The move was obvious. That did not make it ignorable. A complete Susanoo rib and arm formed around Madara as he crossed the field. The spectral fist struck toward the younger Naruto and Sasuke. Sasuke raised his own Susanoo. The two constructs collided. Sasuke's feet tore backward through the dirt. Young Naruto formed chakra arms to reinforce him. Madara's second Susanoo hand formed a blade. Adult Naruto looked from Obito to his younger self. That was the choice Madara wanted. Naruto did not make it alone. He shouted for Sakura and Gaara. Gaara's sand swept young Naruto and Sasuke sideways. Sakura met the descending Susanoo blade with a punch to its lower edge. Her strength did not overpower the entire construct, but she changed its angle enough for the blade to strike empty ground. Adult Naruto stayed with Obito. Madara's eyes narrowed. The battlefield had learned to stop expecting one man to solve every danger. Shikamaru used Ino's network immediately. He redirected 3 combat squads to support Gaara and Sakura, leaving adult Naruto free to focus on Zetsu. Naruto hooked his fingers beneath a thick black layer on Obito's shoulder and pulled. Zetsu stretched. Obito screamed as the tendrils pulled against his damaged body. Naruto stopped before he tore muscle away with it. That hesitation cost him. A smaller, black strand slipped beneath Obito's sleeve and wrapped around the Rinnegan side of his face. The eye flared. Adult Naruto felt the first stage of Rinne rebirth catch inside the chakra network before the hand seal had fully finished. Tobirama sensed it too and warned them that the fingers were not merely a switch. Zetsu had already used the partial seal to open a chakra circuit through the Rinnegan. If they broke the hand position fast enough, the circuit might collapse before the technique crossed the point of no return. Naruto slammed his palm against Obito's chest and sent a pulse of Kurama's chakra through him, trying to disrupt control. Obito's left hand moved freely for 1 second. He grabbed the black layer over his face and pulled. Zetsu resisted. Kakashi used Kamui on the exposed edge. Minato cut another strand with a wind-coated kunai. Tobirama reinforced his seal. They were winning by centimeters. Then, Madara changed the field again. He reached one of Hashirama's damaged wooden dragons, but the dragon was not dead wood. A living root still connected it to Hashirama's chakra network. Madara pressed his palm against the exposed grain and used the absorption ability of his reanimated Rinnegan to pull a narrow current of senjutsu through that connection. Hashirama felt the theft immediately and severed the root. Madara only had 1 extra second, but 1 second was enough to steal a small reserve of Sage Chakra. Adult Naruto sent a clone toward Madara with a Rasen Shuriken already spinning. The clone reached him before he could take more. Madara allowed the attack to tear through his reanimated body rather than release the last thread of stolen chakra early. The Rasen Shuriken exploded. Wind blades shredded the remaining wooden connection and threw Madara into the crater. His body began rebuilding at once. Faint dark markings appeared around his eyes. It was not Hashirama's full Sage mode, and it would not last long, but it gave Madara enough natural energy to sense movement after returning to life. Adult Naruto understood the purpose. Madara was preparing for the few blind minutes between resurrection and reclaiming an eye. Black Zetsu was close to completing the Rinne rebirth seal. Obito's free hand shook violently as he tried to ruin the position of his own fingers. Adult Naruto drove 2 fingers into the controlled wrist and dislocated it. The hand dropped uselessly, and the visible seal collapsed. Black Zetsu shrieked. Obito laughed once through the pain. Naruto almost allowed himself relief, but the Rinnegan kept turning. The chakra circuit Tobirama had warned about had not disappeared with the hand position. It had weakened, but Zetsu had already pushed enough of the technique through the eye to keep it alive for a few more seconds. Zetsu abandoned the ruined hand and paid a different price. It drove its own chakra through every tendril already threaded around Obito's muscles, using the invaded body itself to complete the circuit that the partial hand seal had started. Tobirama shouted that the hand had stopped mattering because the technique was already inside its final channel. Now, the only way to interrupt it was to separate Zetsu from the Rinnegan, or break the chakra flow before it left Obito. Adult Naruto grabbed the black mass and tore with everything Kurama could safely give him. Half of Zetsu ripped away from Obito's chest, and Kakashi warped that half into Kamui. They had forced Zetsu to use a slower and far more damaging route, but they were a fraction of a second late, stopping the technique entirely. The other half remained fused along Obito's back. A wave of Rinnegan chakra crossed the battlefield. Madara stopped regenerating. His reanimated body cracked. Then the cracks changed. Paper-like skin became living flesh. The empty holes of the reanimation technique sealed. Blood ran for the first time, from wounds that no longer repaired themselves automatically. Madara Uchiha returned to life. The technique almost killed Obito on the spot. His body went limp. Adult Naruto caught him before his head hit the ground. Sakura arrived at a sprint. She pressed both hands against Obito's chest and sent medical chakra through him. The remaining black Zetsu tried to crawl upward toward his face. Adult Naruto pinned it with a sage chakra arm. Sakura looked at the black substance, then at Naruto. She asked whether she could cut it off. Naruto said yes, if she could do it without killing Obito. Sakura's expression became the focused calm she wore during surgery. She took a chakra scalpel from one hand and sliced through the thin places where Zetsu had attached itself to damaged tissue. The creature recoiled. Naruto tore each freed section away. It tried to escape into the ground. Their Byakugan tracked the smallest moving pieces. Neji struck the earth with gentle fist chakra, disrupting the path ahead of the creature. Hinata hit from the other side. The black mass was forced back to the surface. Kakashi's eye focused. The remaining black Zetsu, attached to Obito, vanished into Kamui. Kakashi's Sharingan immediately flooded with blood. He closed the eye and dropped to one knee. The borrowed Kurama chakra was spent, and Sakura ordered him not to use Kamui again until she treated him properly. For several seconds, no one moved. Adult Naruto stared at the place where Zetsu had disappeared. Most of the creature had been removed from Obito, but the thin fragment that escaped underground earlier was still unaccounted for. They had stopped Zetsu from controlling Obito's body. They had not stopped the technique. Madara was alive. But the result was not the one Madara had planned either. Obito was still alive. Barely. Most of Black Zetsu had been ripped away and trapped in another dimension, while one underground fragment remained missing. 7 complete tailed beasts were free again, and the stolen fragments of Gyuki and Kurama had separated from the 10 tails. The demonic statue itself remained sealed inside Obito, its life force keeping him alive after the extraction. The allied forces were still standing. Madara had returned to life, without his full plan completed. For the first time, adult Naruto realized that changing the future did not only create worse surprises, it created opportunities too. Madara stood across the field in his living body. He inhaled slowly. The sensation of breath seemed to amuse him. His long black hair fell across his face. The red armor remained damaged from the earlier battle. His eyes were dark now, lacking the unnatural Rinnegan pattern his reanimated body had displayed. He was alive. He was also temporarily without his true eyes. Adult Naruto knew what should happen next. Somewhere in this war, Madara's Rinnegan existed outside his body. In the original history, he had reclaimed one and then the other. Naruto did not know whether that path still remained intact. He made a decision immediately. He told every sensory ninja through Ino's network to search for white Zetsu signatures approaching Madara. He ordered the Hyuga to watch underground routes. He asked Tobirama to place marks around Madara's position, and Minato to prepare interception points. Madara heard part of the order. His smile disappeared. That was the advantage adult Naruto still possessed. The future no longer told him exactly what would happen. It still told him what Madara needed. A white Zetsu broke from the ground half a kilometer away. Neji saw it. He shouted. The creature held a small sealed container against its chest. Adult Naruto knew what was inside. He vanished in a flash of speed. Madara moved at the same time. Even blind, living Madara was terrifyingly fast. Hashirama intercepted him. The two collided between shattered trees. Adult Naruto reached the white Zetsu first. There was no reason for a prolonged fight. The creature was far below him in power. Naruto hit it once. The body disintegrated against the ground. He caught the container before it fell. A seal covered the lid. Inside, he sensed an eye filled with dense chakra, Madara's Rinnegan. Naruto closed his hand around the container. Madara stopped fighting Hashirama for one fraction of a second. That was enough to show how important the object was. Adult Naruto threw it toward Minato and ordered him through Ino's link to destroy it rather than hide it. Minato caught the container and vanished toward a remote, flying thunder god mark beyond the main battlefield. One of Hiruzen's shadow clones and an Orochimaru's snake scout were already stationed there. They placed the sealed container inside a second barrier and burned the eye until its chakra signature collapsed. Tobirama could verify the residue after the immediate fight. Madara felt the distant signature disappear, and his face changed. He had just lost one of his original eyes permanently. He attacked Hashirama with sudden violence. A kick drove the first Hokage through a broken ridge. Madara followed, using stolen sage chakra to sense the battlefield despite his blindness. Adult Naruto met him halfway. This time, their fight was different. Madara could bleed now. Naruto could finish him if he created the right opening. Madara knew that too. Their first exchange shattered the ground beneath them. Naruto punched toward Madara's jaw. Madara slipped outside the strike by sensing the movement through Sage Mode and drove his elbow into Naruto's ribs. Naruto absorbed it, caught the arm, and tried to throw him. Madara rotated through the grip and kicked Naruto's knee. Naruto's leg buckled. A chakra arm caught Madara around the waist. Madara formed a fire technique at point-blank range. Naruto took the flames across his chakra cloak and threw him anyway. Madara hit the ground, rolled, and rose. Blood ran from his mouth. He smiled. Adult Naruto did not. He increased the pressure. 3 shadow clones attacked from separate angles. One used a sage-enhanced punch. One formed a Rasengan. The third stayed back to read Madara's response. Madara could sense them, but he had lost the visual precision of the Rinnegan. He blocked the punch, avoided the Rasengan, and failed to account for the third clone's chakra arm striking from beneath the ground. The arm wrapped his ankle. Adult Naruto pulled. Madara lost balance. The original Naruto drove a Rasengan into his side. This time the wound did not regenerate. Madara flew through a line of stone pillars and crashed into a crater. Hashirama landed at the rim and raised a wooden ceiling gate. Tobirama appeared on the opposite side with prepared tags. For the first time that day, Madara faced actual permanent defeat. Hashirama's ceiling gate began to descend, while Tobirama moved in with prepared tags. Then Orochimaru's underground scouts started dying. 3 snakes vanished from his awareness almost together. A 4th reached the surface near the medical sector, with black spores growing across its body before it dissolved. That warning came only seconds before the fragment of black Zetsu that had escaped underground revealed why it had stayed hidden. It had spent the battle moving through old white Zetsu routes and seeding dormant spore growths into root systems already beneath the allied lines. The spores carried almost no independent chakra until they activated. A black line burst through the roots beneath Madara. At the same moment, white Zetsu bodies flowered out of a dozen points that the Hyuga had previously seen only as inert, organic matter. Half attacked the crater. The rest surfaced beneath the nearest medical corridor, carrying explosive tags stripped from dead shinobi. Adult Naruto saw wounded people, medics, and 2 Katsuyu divisions standing over a floor that had just become a bomb. Chasing Madara himself would have been faster. Protecting the corridor was the choice he made. Naruto crossed the distance with a chakra arm, tore the tagged Zetsu away from the wounded, and wrapped the blast inside a dense Kurama shield. The explosion struck hard enough to split the ground, but the medical line survived. Hashirama and Tobirama continued the capture without him. Hashirama drove roots into every visible tunnel. Tobirama slapped a Flying Thunder God tag toward Madara's shoulder. The underground black Zetsu fragment reached Madara first. It spread over his wounded side and shoulder, just as Tobirama threw the Flying Thunder God tag. The formula landed on the black coating rather than Madara's skin. Zetsu peeled that layer away at once, and wrapped it around a white Zetsu decoy that fled down a side branch. Tobirama followed his mark and found the moving decoy instead of the real body. By then, 3 other Zetsu were carrying Madara through a pre-existing hollow root tunnel. Hyuga guards caught the movement and called the correct branch, but several spore bodies released copied chakra signatures and strips of Madara's blood-stained armor into neighboring routes. Hashirama crushed 3 tunnels. The 4th opened into an older cavern beyond the reach of the roots he had grown during this battle. Adult Naruto expanded Sage Mode after the medical corridor was secure. The sensors had not lost Madara completely. For several seconds, Neji, Orochimaru's surviving scouts, and Naruto all tracked the same wounded signature, moving north. Then, the prepared cavern network divided into too many old organic passages, some carrying copied chakra from white Zetsu, and some shielded by the black coating around Madara. Naruto could have followed the strongest trail immediately, but the medical corridor behind him was still collapsing, and secondary spore growths were waking beneath 2 treatment stations. He chose to finish securing the people he could save. By the time Minato and Tobirama pushed deeper into the tunnels, Madara had gained enough distance for the false routes to matter. He escaped because his allies had prepared the ground and forced Naruto to choose between pursuit and lives. Madara was still wounded, blind, and without the Rinnegan Naruto had intercepted. One fragment of Black Zetsu was now almost certainly with him. The loose Rinnegan was no longer a resource either side could reclaim. Minato's team had destroyed it beyond the battlefield. The first stage of the Changed War had ended, with both sides losing something they expected to possess. The allies had lost the certainty of adult Naruto's future knowledge. Madara had lost the clean road to his eyes, and the 10 tails. The next battle would be fought in territory neither side remembered. The battlefield did not become peaceful when Madara disappeared. It became busy. That difference mattered. For hours, the Allied forces had reacted to attacks that could erase entire units. Now, the surviving commanders finally had enough control to count people, move the wounded, rebuild communication, and decide where the next line would stand. The cost of the battle became visible once no giant monster blocked the horizon. Craters covered the field. Hashirama's broken wood lay across kilometers of ruined earth. The remains of the meteor had created 2 new ridges where none existed that morning. Medical teams moved between rows of wounded shinobi, marked by colored flags. Green meant stable, yellow meant urgent, red meant someone needed a medic immediately. Sakura refused to let adult Naruto leave the central treatment area until she checked him properly. He protested once. She pointed at the places where Obito's staff had bruised his forearm, and at the burn across one shoulder from Madara's fire technique. Then she pointed at the torn section of his Hokage cloak, where a truth-seeking sphere had erased the fabric. Naruto stopped protesting. Young Naruto sat on an overturned slab of stone nearby, while another medic wrapped his ribs. He watched adult Naruto with obvious satisfaction. The older version asked what he was smiling about. The boy said becoming Hokage apparently did not make him immune to Sakura. Adult Naruto told him to enjoy the joke while he could. Sakura looked toward young Naruto. His smile disappeared. Neji was treated at the next station. He had a deep cut along one arm and several bruised ribs, injuries that would have seemed serious on any normal mission. On this battlefield, they were almost fortunate. Hinata remained beside him while a medic finished the bandaging. Adult Naruto's eyes kept moving there without permission. Every time he saw Neji breathe, some part of him expected the image to change. It did not. Neji noticed the staring on the 4th time. He told adult Naruto that he intended to remain alive for the rest of the day, if that would make him less distracting. Naruto blinked. Hinata looked shocked. Then, adult Naruto laughed. The sound spread to Neji, despite his attempt to remain serious. It was the first joke Neji had made about his own changed fate, and it did more for Naruto than any reassurance could have. He stopped watching the man like a memory. There were practical problems to solve. The Allied forces had used enormous quantities of chakra. Many shinobi were dehydrated. The medical corps had burned through soldier pills, bandages, antiseptic supplies, and stored chakra faster than expected. Water users began filling temporary reservoirs carved by Earth release teams. Fire users boiled contaminated water in metal supply drums. Remaining ration packs were counted and redistributed according to medical priority, rather than village affiliation. Naruto watched a Cloud Shinobi hand his last intact ration bar to a wounded stone ninja, who could barely sit upright. That small exchange told him more about the state of the alliance than another speech would have. War had its own economy. Katsuyu also relayed the latest report from the distant Kage treatment site. Tsunade, Mei, and Onoki were alive and stable, but none of them were ready to re-enter combat. Gaara had returned only because his injuries responded fastest to treatment, and his sand let him travel without forcing his body to run. The rest would remain under medical supervision until moving them became safer than leaving them where they were. Chakra, water, medicine, ceiling tags, information, people who could still stand. Every major technique spent something, and Shikamaru understood that better than anyone left in command. Before the temporary operations point was established, Kakashi and Minato both stopped beside Obito's treatment barrier. Sakura explained that the demonic statue still sealed inside him was sustaining his life after the extraction. Hashirama cells in his body were also helping him survive the damage from Rinne rebirth. Even with those advantages, he was barely stable, and removing the remaining Rinnegan immediately could kill him. Kakashi asked to remain on the guard rotation. He did not call Obito innocent, and did not ask anyone to forget the people he had killed. He simply wanted his former teammate alive long enough to answer for his own choices, instead of being used as Madara's container again. Minato agreed. Saving Obito was not forgiveness. It was refusing to let Madara decide the end of another student's life. That decision gave the medical team a clear purpose, and made the barrier around Obito both a hospital room and the most heavily guarded prison on the field. Minato proposed removing that prison from the battlefield entirely. Sakura stopped him before he could try. The demonic statue was not resting inside Obito like an ordinary sealed object. Its chakra had spread through the damaged network that was currently keeping his organs alive. Tobirama tested the edge of a flying Thunder God transfer on the outer barrier, and felt the statue pull against the space around Obito like an anchor. Moving the whole body in one jump risked tearing the statue out through an unfinished seal or rupturing the remaining Rinnegan pathway. Either result could kill Obito and release the exact prize Madara wanted. Until Sakura stabilized the network, the safer choice was to fortify the current position instead of moving the patient. Shikamaru established a temporary operations point inside a shallow crater, protected by Gaara's sand and Hashirama's wood. Ino sat near the center, with 2 sensory shinobi supporting her. Maps were drawn directly onto flat stone, because half the paper supplies had burned. Small wooden markers represented surviving divisions. Broken markers represented units too damaged to function alone. Adult Naruto joined them after Sakura released him. She made him carry 2 water flasks, and threatened to personally find him if he returned with either full. Young Naruto followed. Sasuke came separately, and stood at the edge of the command area, as though proximity to planning might be contagious. Kakashi joined beside him. Gaara arrived with dust still caught in his red hair. Minato and Tobirama appeared together. Hashirama came last, after checking the outer line. Obito remained alive under Sakura's care. That created the first major argument. Several commanders wanted him restrained and interrogated immediately. Others wanted the Rinnegan removed before Madara returned. A few shinobi who had lost family in the war wanted Obito executed before he had another chance to move. Adult Naruto understood all 3 reactions. He did not pretend Obito's change of heart erased what he had done. Obito had helped start a world war. He had attacked Konoha on the night Naruto was born. He had caused deaths across decades. Saving him from Black Zetsu was not forgiveness. It was also strategically necessary. Madara needed the Rinnegan still in Obito's eye. Killing Obito carelessly could leave that eye on the battlefield for White Zetsu to steal. Removing it immediately sounded safer, but Sakura had already examined him. The Rinne rebirth technique had drained his body almost to death. Black Zetsu's possession had damaged tissue around his neck and spine. A rushed operation on the Rinnegan could kill him before they learned what he knew about Madara's current network. Obito would remain under medical treatment inside a layered barrier because the statue made long-range teleportation unsafe until Sakura stabilized the seal network. Hyuga guards would watch his chakra at all times, and sealing specialists would monitor both the remaining Rinnegan and the enormous dormant signature of the demonic statue inside him. Kakashi would remain on the guard rotation. After the strain of the Zetsu fight, his Sharingan was under medical restriction, and Kamui was an emergency option, not a routine defense. Sakura had final authority over when the remaining eye could be removed. Orochimaru could study the damaged seal network and the dormant statue signature, but he was not allowed to touch Obito without her approval. Sakura estimated that she needed less than an hour to bring Obito out of immediate circulatory shock before attempting the operation. The loose Rinnegan had already been destroyed at the remote mark. Madara now had only one original eye left to reclaim, and the Alliance intended to remove it as soon as Obito could survive the procedure. No one loved the plan. That was usually a sign Shikamaru had found the practical middle. Minato returned from the remote mark with a simpler report. The loose Rinnegan was gone. Hiruzen had reduced the container and the eye to ash inside a sealed fire barrier. Tobirama had checked for any surviving chakra pattern, and Orochimaru had confirmed that nothing usable remained. Young Naruto stared at the 3 legendary shinobi and asked whether they had really solved one of Madara's biggest problems by burning his eyeball. Tobirama said that preventing an enemy from reclaiming a weapon was not complicated just because the enemy was famous. Hashirama laughed loudly enough for nearby medics to turn their heads. The humor faded when adult Naruto explained what Madara would try next. One original Rinnegan still existed inside Obito. The demonic statue remained sealed in the same body. The seven-tailed beasts were free but exhausted. Madara no longer needed two eyes to become dangerous. If he recovered the surviving Rinnegan, he could summon the statue out of Obito and begin rebuilding the 10 tails around it. The alliance adjusted around that fact. Killer Bee and Gyuki took responsibility for speaking with the 7 freed-tailed beasts and convincing them to remain near guarded sectors until safe routes were established. Gaara stayed closest to Shukaku. Hiruzen reorganized the elemental divisions around the perimeter. Guy finally sat beside Kakashi after being ordered to preserve his remaining strength. Suigetsu carried water to the burn wards, and Jugo stayed near Sasuke while his natural energy recovered. Orochimaru remained near Sakura, because the damaged seal network inside Obito now mattered as much as any battlefield technique. Sasuke asked what happened after that in adult Naruto's original history. The room grew quiet. Naruto had avoided the full answer during combat, because information about Kaguya was too dangerous to spread over open communication. Now everyone present had a reason to know. He told them. Madara had believed Black Zetsu was his creation. It was not. Zetsu had manipulated events for generations to restore Kaguya Otsutsuki. In adult Naruto's history, Madara reached the height of his power, only for Black Zetsu to betray him and use his body as the vessel for Kaguya's return. Hashirama stopped smiling. Tobirama asked precise questions. What kind of being was Kaguya? What abilities did she possess? What had stopped her? Adult Naruto answered as clearly as he could. She possessed power beyond the normal shinobi scale. She could shift entire groups between dimensions. She had overwhelming chakra. Killing her had not been the solution. She had been sealed. Tobirama asked with what? Adult Naruto looked at young Naruto and Sasuke. This was the part he had been trying not to think about. He explained that in his original history, both of them had been brought close to death. In that state, they encountered Hagoromo Otsutsuki, the Sage of Six Paths. Hagoromo gave them complementary powers and sealing marks. Those marks had allowed them to seal Kaguya. Young Naruto looked at his palms. Nothing was there. Sasuke did the same. Hashirama understood first. By preventing the original near-fatal events, adult Naruto might have prevented the meeting that gave them the seal. Adult Naruto nodded. No one suggested recreating those events. Minato made his position clear anyway. They were not going to nearly kill his son on purpose because history had once rewarded it. Young Naruto agreed very quickly. Adult Naruto said that was not an option. Sasuke looked annoyed that anyone felt the need to clarify. Tobirama asked whether adult Naruto still possessed his original seal. Naruto opened his right hand. The sun mark he had carried during the war was long gone. He still carried the power and experience gained during that era, but not the paired mechanism that had closed Kaguya away. That changed the next stage of the war more than anything else discussed that evening. They had made the present safer. They had also removed the one solution Naruto knew had worked at the end. Shikamaru did not treat that as a reason for despair. He treated it as a planning problem. If Hagoromo had contacted Naruto and Sasuke once, there might be another way to reach him. If not, they needed a sealing method capable of replacing the sun and moon marks. The Uzumaki had possessed advanced sealing knowledge. The previous Hokage knew techniques forgotten by most modern shinobi. Orochimaru had access to research no one trusted, but everyone might need. The tailed beasts themselves might know more about Hagoromo than human records did. Adult Naruto realized he had been looking at the missing seals as a hole in history. Shikamaru looked at them as a list of people to question. That was why Naruto had kept him close for so many years. Young Naruto caught the expression on his face. He asked whether Shikamaru became important in the future. Adult Naruto drank from one of Sakura's water flasks to avoid answering. Shikamaru noticed. His eyes narrowed. Adult Naruto drank more slowly. Young Naruto laughed. Sasuke seemed almost offended that future information kept being revealed through terrible acting rather than direct answers. The planning session continued. They divided the next objectives. Hashirama would lead suppression teams around the 7 freed-tailed beasts and block White Zetsu from approaching them underground. Gaara and Killer Bee would help, because Shukaku and Gyuki could speak directly to the other beasts, and because both men could move or shield large targets quickly. Tobirama would establish a wider network of flying thunder god marks around the likely underground routes. Minato would remain available for emergency transport and reinforce the guard around Obito whenever the last Rinnegan or the demonic statue showed abnormal chakra. Kakashi and the Hyuga would guard Obito. Sakura would keep him alive long enough to remove the remaining eyes safely. Sasuke and young Naruto would recover chakra while remaining ready to counter Madara if he returned. Adult Naruto received the least complicated assignment. Rest for 20 minutes. He stared at Shikamaru. Shikamaru stared back. Adult Naruto pointed out that Madara was somewhere underground, gathering forces. Shikamaru pointed out that adult Naruto had spent hours distributing chakra to an army, breaking a meteor, fighting Obito, and fighting Madara. He had also helped extract the 10 tails and wrestled Black Zetsu off a dying man. Naruto said he had done worse. Minato supported Shikamaru. Sakura supported Shikamaru from across the crater without being asked. Kurama supported Shikamaru inside Naruto's mind. Adult Naruto looked toward young Naruto for help. The boy grinned and said the old man should probably take a nap. Adult Naruto decided he disliked himself again. He rested for 19 minutes. On the 20th, he was already walking toward the outer line. Minato found him there. Night had settled over the battlefield. Fires burned in shielded pits where medics heated water and soldiers warmed their hands. Sensor teams watched the darkness. The huge shapes left by battle had become black silhouettes against a clouded sky. Adult Naruto sat on a broken stone ledge with his cloak folded beside him, while Sakura's repairs to the torn section dried. Without the white cloak, he looked less like a title and more like an older version of the boy sleeping against a supply crate 50 meters away. Minato sat beside him. For a while, neither spoke. Naruto had always imagined that if he ever somehow got more time with his father, he would have 1,000 questions. As an adult, most of them had already been answered by life. The questions that remained were harder. He told Minato that becoming Hokage had changed how he understood the night of his birth. When he was younger, part of him had wondered how his parents could choose the village and the future over staying with their newborn son. He had understood their words. Understanding the feeling had taken longer. Then he became responsible for people who expected him to make choices when every option hurt someone. Then he became a father. Minato looked down at his reanimated hands. He asked whether Naruto still resented him. Naruto considered the question seriously. He said there had been days when he did, especially as a child. There had been nights when an empty apartment made every explanation feel useless. Minato accepted that without defending himself. He said resentment had changed after he met Kushina, after he learned everything, and after he had children of his own. He still wished they had found another way. He probably always would. Minato nodded, and that answer seemed to mean more to him than easy forgiveness. Naruto then admitted the part he had avoided saying during the battle. He was afraid the temporal breach would never reopen. Somewhere in his own branch, Boruto and Himawari might already be asking where he was. Hinata might be waiting for a husband who had vanished in the middle of an ordinary night. Helping this battlefield did not reduce his need to return to them. It simply meant he could not buy his way home by abandoning people who were dying in front of him. Minato understood that conflict immediately. He promised that once the immediate war was contained, he and Tobirama would study every trace of the breach they could still find. Then he asked about Naruto's children again. This time Naruto described them properly. Boruto's bright blonde hair that refused to sit flat. The blue eyes that could become stubborn in exactly the wrong moments. Himawari's dark hair, gentle face, and terrifying accuracy when angry. He spoke about meals at home, arguments over work, training in the yard, and the strange experience of watching children complain about things Naruto had once dreamed of having. Minato listened with a smile. When Naruto finished, Minato asked whether his wife was happy. Adult Naruto looked across the camp. Young Hinata was helping distribute fresh bandages. Her dark blue hair fell down her back. She moved with quiet concentration, listening more than she spoke. Naruto answered that his wife deserved more time than he sometimes gave her, but he was trying to become better at that. Minato followed his gaze. He did not say anything. Adult Naruto realized the mistake 1 second too late. Minato smiled. Naruto told him not to interfere. Minato said he had not said a word. Naruto accused him of thinking loudly. Behind them, Young Naruto had awakened and was walking toward the water barrels. He saw both men looking toward Hinata, then at adult Naruto, then at the wedding ring. His face changed. Adult Naruto stood immediately. Young Naruto pointed at him. Adult Naruto picked up his half-repaired cloak and walked away. Young Naruto followed. Adult Naruto walked faster. Young Naruto demanded answers. Adult Naruto said the enemy could attack at any moment. Young Naruto pointed out that the enemy was underground and probably could not hear them. Adult Naruto created a shadow clone and sent it running in the opposite direction. Young Naruto chased the clone for 3 steps, realized what had happened, and shouted loud enough to wake half the camp. Hinata looked over. Adult Naruto pretended to be deeply interested in a damaged ceiling tag. Kakashi, sitting near Obito's barrier, watched the entire scene with his visible eye curved in amusement. The moment gave the exhausted camp something it badly needed. Even people who did not understand the context laughed, because watching 2 versions of the same person argue had become one of the strangest benefits of surviving the day. The laughter ended when Neji's Byakugan activated. He looked toward the northern ridge. Everyone near him became alert. It was not an attack. A group of sensory shinobi had found a trail. White Zetsu residue led away from Madara's escape route toward a network of old underground chambers beneath the mountains. The black residue, mixed into one branch, confirmed adult Naruto's suspicion that the fragment of black Zetsu which escaped earlier had helped him get away. Hashirama arrived minutes later with a second report. The tailed beasts themselves were not being dragged through tunnels. They were conscious, exhausted, and still near the protected sectors where Killer Bee, Gaara, and the sealing teams had gathered them. What the scouts found instead were white Zetsu groups probing toward those sectors from below, testing routes and withdrawing whenever a Byakugan user spotted them. Madara's forces were already mapping a way to recapture the beasts. Shikamaru spread a new map across the stone table. Tobirama marked the underground routes. Gaara added the positions of Shukaku and the other freed beasts. Killer Bee sent confirmation through Ino that none of them had agreed to be moved underground, and that Gyuki could distinguish his own recovered fragment from the 7 complete beasts. Kakashi reported that Obito had regained consciousness for short periods and confirmed that Madara maintained several hidden sites connected through white Zetsu tunnels. Sakura added the most dangerous detail. Obito was stable enough to keep breathing, but Sakura still needed a short period of uninterrupted stabilization before she could remove the last Rinnegan without sending him into fatal shock. The demonic statue remained inside him. Madara's surviving Rinnegan was still in Obito's socket. If Madara reached him before the operation, he could regain the power needed to summon the statue out of Obito. That could kill or cripple Obito and give Madara the vessel required to imprison the tailed beasts again. The first Rinnegan no longer existed. Minato had confirmed its destruction. That turned the next hour into a clear deadline rather than an indefinite delay. Adult Naruto looked at the map. In his original history, Madara returned to life, reclaimed his eyes, summoned the demonic statue, and captured the tailed beasts. He pushed both Naruto and Sasuke close enough to death that Hagoromo reached them. Almost every step had now changed. One Rinnegan had been destroyed. The last remained inside a living Obito, protected by the allied forces. The 7 tailed beasts were free and aware of the threat. Young Naruto and Sasuke were exhausted but alive, and far from death. Most of Black Zetsu was trapped in Kamui, but one fragment was loose and almost certainly with Madara. Madara himself was alive, wounded, blind, and moving through tunnels adult Naruto had never seen. There was no script left to follow. Young Naruto came to stand beside him. The boy was still bruised and bandaged. His blonde hair stuck up in every direction, despite blood and dust. His blue eyes were tired but bright. He looked at the map, then at his adult self. He asked whether they had won this part of the war in the original future. Adult Naruto thought about Neji. He thought about the barrier filled with bombs, the people alive in the medical camp, Obito breathing under guard, the first Rinnegan already destroyed beyond Madara's reach, the thousands of shinobi who had survived because the battlefield changed. He said yes. Then, young Naruto asked whether the next part happened like this. Adult Naruto looked toward the dark northern mountains where Madara had disappeared. He could feel Kurama watching with him. Sasuke waited near the edge of the command post. Sakura was still treating the wounded. Hinata and Neji were alive. The 4 Hokage had changed their positions. Every person on the field now carried information they had never possessed in his memory. Adult Naruto shook his head. He told the younger version the truth. From this point forward, he did not know what happened next. Young Naruto was quiet for a moment. Then he grinned. He said that was fine. They would figure it out. Adult Naruto looked at the grin he had once worn, before responsibility, grief, paperwork, parenthood, and years of leadership changed the shape of his face. He put the repaired 7th Hokage cloak back over his shoulders. The red flames settled behind him. Across the mountains, a distant pulse of chakra moved beneath the ground. Madara was still alive. He was still hunting the tailed beasts. He needed the single surviving Rinnegan inside Obito, and the demonic statue still sealed in the former Jinchuriki, if he wanted to rebuild the 10 tails. Most of Black Zetsu was trapped, but one fragment had escaped with him. Somewhere beyond that conflict waited Kaguya, an enemy only adult Naruto fully understood. The sun and moon seals that had stopped her in his history no longer existed in their hands. The first battle had been changed. Neji lived. Obito had fallen. The 7 captured tailed beasts were free, and the demonic statue was trapped inside a guarded prisoner instead of serving Madara. The Allied forces had survived the trap meant to destroy them. Now the war belonged to a future that had never happened before.